1990.
Launch for League's first international season. A Warrior salute and a sparkling entrance for the hosts.
The crowd welcomes the Auckland Warriors.
But a hostile reception is nothing new for the Broncos. It was soon business as usual, Willie Kahn drawing first blood and controversy.
Smith on! Kahn! Oh, great defence! Now he's Kahn! He thinks he got it down. Bill Harrigan agrees.
Minutes later, the Broncos found another hole.
Ken! Strong as they come, and Chris Johns!
Ahead 10-0, they were looking at a big score. The Warriors had other ideas.
And oh!
Then came league history. Fetu Taiwa outstepped and outran Kahn. Phil Blake finishing off Auckland's first premiership try.
Taiwa comes inside. Oh, great ball! Blake! Phil Blake! He gets the try!
There was more to come. Sean Hoppy with an equaliser.
Inside for Hoppy! Yes! Another try!
Even their forwards were running free. Tony Tatupu putting the Warriors into the lead.
He'll score! Tatupu!
The Broncos came storming back in the second half. Phil Blake earned 10 minutes in the sin bin.
Could be a crucial part of the game. There's a professional foul.
But even with a one-man advantage, Brisbane couldn't stop the charge.
Now it's Rapati!
Trailing by 12, the Broncos needed a breakthrough. Langer found it in the 54th minute with an aerial assault.
The Taiwa puts it down, but it's back for Brisbane and they score!
Miracle!
Minutes later, a classic jink and the number 7 was over again.
Langer forward. Inside the 10, goes himself and scores!
The score was level until Langer turned the game once more, although not in the most comfortable manner.
Was he taken out late? Referee Harrigan says he was.
Julian O'Neill kicked the penalty and the Broncos now led by 2. 9 minutes from time, O'Neill added a field goal to increase the lead to 25-22.
They set up a drop goal with Julian O'Neill and that is successful.
The Warriors had one chance left in the dying seconds and it nearly paid off.
Uses Gavin Hill and it goes to ground, the knock-on.
A dream debut was not to be, but man of the match Langer doubts many teams will cope with the Auckland atmosphere.
Yes, it was a great atmosphere, especially for the Warriors, so they're going to be very hard to beat at home here, so pity the other side's coming over here.
The little man powered over to score the first try for the newcomers.
Mr. Chargers at the line. Close, very close, he's there!
The Premiers, although a little rusty, hit back 7 minutes later following a brilliant break by Laurie Daly.
Chasing out of Simons and Western, out to Wood and Wood's over!
Failing 6-4 at the break, the Raiders forgave bench big gun Brett Mullins and Jason Croker, and their impact was immediate.
Croker pushes up back, he's over! Jason Croker scores the try.
Croker added a second soon after, before Laurie Daly scored a smart solo try.
But Daly gets his arms out in front and goes straight through them, and Laurie Daly scores.
Brett Mullins got into the act to complete the Premier's comfortable 24-6 win.
Field and Mullins, oh, he's gone away from Herbert. They won't catch him, I don't think. Simons is giving him a go. Ellison's there too.
In full of running, halfback Craig Field putting Kelso into a gap in the 9th minute.
Going for the line and getting it over.
But Manly hit back, Terry Hill finding South's markers missing. Some of the early hits rattled the grandstands. South Sydney decided the running game was their best option and it reaped big rewards.
He'll score!
Both sides lost a player each to the sin bin, then Jeff Tooby decided he'd test Souths up the middle.
Opens it up even further!
The half-time 12-all score was smashed soon after the break, Manly with men to spare. Souths fell away badly from that point, and when Des Hasler scored under the sticks, it was 3 tries to Manly in 10 minutes. Manly running away with the game, 42-18. At North Sydney Oval,
Sydney City Roosters appeared to have the Sydney Tigers by the tail, leading 18 points to 2. But the Tigers staged an incredible comeback to score 4 tries in 16 minutes, Greg Barwick setting up the match winner for Gary Edwards. The Gold Coast didn't look worthy of being on the same ground as North Sydney, the Bears racking up a half-century while hardly raising a sweat. In a seesawing affair at Campbelltown, Western Suburbs pulled off an upset, defeating the favoured Illawarra Steelers. Centre Ken McGuinness, one of their best. New coach.
Rugby league competition was completed on Sunday. Penrith defeated Parramatta, the Sydney Tigers were too strong for the Roosters, Norths thrashed the Gold Coast, Wests scraped home against Illawarra. The Western Reds were the first new team to win, defeating St George, and in the match of the day, Manly thrashed Souths. Souths began...
Rugby League's perennial battlers, West, taking on the Broncos, the game's biggest money winners. It was a case of reach for the stars. Under pressure from the kick-off, it took just 6 minutes for Brisbane to find the first cracks in the West defence.
Kevin Walters goes in.
The Magpies hit back. The boot of Andrew Leeds on target. 10 minutes later, West were facing mission impossible. Alan Langer going solo to make the score 12 points to 2.
He puts it down.
The Brisbane juggernaut continued to roll. A swooping backline caught West short out wide. Try number 3 to the Broncos and a 16 points to 2 lead at half-time.
And Darren Smith scores.
A half-time blast from coach Tom Rodonigas, the Magpies came out firing. But as soon as the openings appeared, the Broncos slammed the door shut.
He's heading for the corner, Smith, but pulled down and into touch.
Kangaroo tourist Jim Sedaris delved deeply into his bag of tricks, but not even Mandrake the Magician could get West over for a try.
Passes from the crowd, he wasn't held, that's legal play. Sedaris kicks into the corner, Sailor goes back, it'll beat them.
Celebrating his birthday and his 100th first grade appearance, Kevin Walters strolled over for try number 2.
And he gets it.
Adding the extras, Julian O'Neill pushing the scoreline to 22 points to 2 in favour of the Broncos. But the boys from Brisbane weren't finished yet. 2 super passes, one from Alf and then this one from second rower Alan Cann, gave the Broncos their 5th try of the match.
Play Alan Cann. That puts Julian O'Neill in to score. Oh, good pass by Cam.
Despite bombing 3 on the way to their 28-2 win, the Broncos lead the premiership. With 2 from 2, it's one of their best starts to the competition.
Yeah, we've had a long off-season, thought about last year. It was very disappointing, our result in the end, and this year off to a good start, probably our best start in about 4 years, so it all looks promising at the moment, but it's a long way to go yet.
Form half John Simon got the Steelers away to a good start, burrowing over for his 4th try of the short season so far.
He's very strong.
But Auckland hit back quickly, they had too many numbers and Phil Blake's pace.
Oh, he's super. Phil Blake, what a runner.
The humid conditions took its toll on Auckland's frail defence. A brilliant break by John Cross saw Brett Rodwell put the Steelers ahead 12-6.
Rodwell's over for the try.
The Steelers went further ahead when hard-working prop Darren Fritz powered over to make it 16-6.
Darren Fritz with sheer power.
But Phil Blake's blistering speed kept his team in the match.
Skipped away, here comes Wishart, but Blake is too quick.
But only briefly, the Steelers went to the break ahead 22-12 after a razzle-dazzle try finished by Rex Turk.
Well, 3 to the round, that's beautiful football.
The second half belonged to Steelers centre Brett Rodwell. He scored his 2nd try through poor Auckland marker defence.
Blake, but it's try time for Brett Rodwell.
His 3rd came after yet another break by man of the match, Darren Fritz.
Rodwell for number 3.
Rodwell added his 4th in his team's 40-28 win in a try-scoring feast.
He's got it, number 4 for Brett Rodwell.
Chris Lawler was the star in an otherwise drab contest, won 26-2 by the Eels over the South Queensland Crushers. Lawler's kick led to hooker Peter McPhail scoring. The Eels improved a little in the second half, adding 3 further tries. Dave Woods positioned fullback Danny Krankovic to make it 14-2. Then Lawler deservedly got one himself with a solo burst from the scrum. He finished with 16 of his team's points. Talented centre Dave Woods took an intercept to wrap up the scoring and complete a dismal night for the Crushers, who are already finding it hard going after just 2 rounds.
And Lieutenants, Sydney's Bulldogs and Tigers go west. Against the run of play, Balmain hit the lead after just 6 minutes. Derek McVeigh combines with Gary Edwards, who wins the race to the ball.
Overrun it, and Edwards puts it down.
Trailing 4-0, it was time to let the Dogs off the chain.
Rel quickly, Dallas.
Spirits lifted, so did the work rate, resulting in a trademark Bulldog try.
And Simon Dilly Davies goes in.
After letting in the first try, Jason Williams got one back.
Looks for the rego, the race for the ball.
Soon after the break, the Tigers' Greg Clerk made it 14-8.
Pressure for Halligan. No, he's put it down. It's a try.
Then on the bell, youngster Damien Ford crossed. The Sydney Bulldogs were too far in front, outlasting the Tigers 20 points to 12. At Cogra Oval, St.
Halfback Paul Green kick-started the Sharks' afternoon. His smart footwork dovetailed perfectly with winger Richard Barnett. But Green's game ended with severe concussion. A swinging arm from Noel Goldthorpe saw the Saint marched. It was 8-all at half-time before Cronulla hit the front and stayed there. With 18 minutes to go, Scott Goulet was sent off. Down to 11 men, St George still gave it everything, but was simply outnumbered and outgunned 32-18 at the siren. Mark Geyer meant business at Marathon, and so did his Reds, flying to a 10-0 lead over Newcastle. But the advantage quickly disintegrated as the Knights rode roughshod, finishing 54-14 winners, coach Peter Mulholland summing up the day. Nothing unusual about Jason Taylor's afternoon at Bear Park. He pocketed 20 points in North's 44-10 thrashing of South. Greg Florimo was just as evasive. South slipped off him and Taylor met him as the Bears piled on 8 tries to 2. And when Taylor wasn't scoring them or potting goals, he was putting his teammates over. South now conceding 86 points in the opening 2 rounds. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
The Cowboys rode into Sydney for the first time today, but the Roosters did all the crowing at the football stadium.
2 tries in the first 5 minutes from the Roosters set the trend for the entire game. The Cowboys were willing but lacked the finesse of the opposition. The Roosters ran in 7 tries in the 34-16 win, continuing what was a wretched weekend for the new teams. At Bruce Stadium last night, Captain Stewart was Canberra's secret kill. It was a wild night. Footy and fists flowed freely, but in the end, the locals went home happy. Stewart had a hand in everything. Canberra scored 5 tries to 2 in the 34-12 victory. At home, the Gold Coast has already conceded almost 80 points. Last night, Manly winger Joe Hapati scored twice in his team's 28-8 win at Seagull Stadium. In Footy Tab, pick the winners.
22,000 fans for the local derby between 2 genuine finals contenders. Manly came out confident, no reason, winners in the corresponding game last year, and with a better winning record at North Sydney Oval. 15 minutes into the game, veteran Seagulls David Gillespie and Des Hasler combined to put first points on the board. Matthew Ridge converts to make it 6-0 in favour of Manly. Captain Jeff Tooby was responsible for the next 4-pointer. Instead of his normal role of setting up play, Cliff Lyon scores this one himself. Leading 12-0, the Seagulls go further ahead. Steve Menzies breaks the line. His ability does the rest. Ridge makes it 3 from 3, and Manly lead 18-0 at half-time. Coach Bob Fulton keeps their mind on the job during the break, and it pays dividends. Terry Hill stands his ground for John Hopewadi to show his pace. When Ridge converts Manly's 4th try, they lead 24-0.
That's magic.
But the Seagulls weren't finished. Under relentless pressure, Norths begin to open up. Captain Jeff Tuvey goes solo for try number 5. The full-time scoreline, an embarrassing 30-0 against the Bears, who many judges see as a chance for the premiership, but not after tonight. Kangaroo forward Steve Menzies was outstanding, but he couldn't help wrap his teammates.
Yeah, they did it well. They got the hard yards for us. Cement getting out there, getting some good balls away, Cement, and it all come together.
We're a very fit side, and we work hard at training, and we pride ourselves on our fitness, but when you're going to make yourself work so hard in defence, it just makes it so hard for you towards the end of the game, and when you give a side like Manly so much ball, I'm sure if they had have given us as much ball as we'd given them, they would have expected to lost the game as well.
Yeah, in form. A strong breeze at their backs in the first half. The Sharks made hard work of getting on the board. Rogers' penalty goal made it 2-0, but a soft try to Matthew Fuller gave the Reds the lead.
Fuller is close, he's over!
The 6-2 scoreline didn't last long. Eddinghausen making some space for Rogers.
And this time Rogers has
After doing the better for most of the first stanza, the Reds looked set to hit the front again when Tim Horan set up what should have been a try. David Peachey sprung into action and went the length of the field to score.
David Peachey all the way.
Cronulla's 6-point half-time lead lasted as long as the average federal opposition leader. Reds fullback Greg Fleming levelled the score. Chris Ryan ran off Brad Mackay to put the visitors on top.
Here's Ryan. Ryan's going to get it anyway.
Another Rogers penalty goal closed the gap to 4. Only a drop ball stopped him from tying it up.
Over the top and it's close. Just missing.
The Reds' defence frantic. Another Cronulla inroad was stopped when Jeff Bell was held up over the line. And the Westerners were home, looking forward to a return clash against the Sharks in Perth in just 7 days' time. Warren Smith, 10 News.
Brisbane has emerged 14-point winners after a bruising battle in Wollongong that saw winger Willie Kahn stretchered off and Martin Marcella facing the judiciary on a dangerous tackle charge. The Broncos ran in 6 tries to 3, while the Bulldogs held off a brave Roosters outfit at the Sydney Football Stadium. Newcomers Auckland won their first game in spectacular fashion, Bill Blake scoring 4 tries, and Penrith monstered the Crushers.
The Broncos were looking ominous from the outset. Try number 1 came in the 8th minute.
Ryan gets in.
And then came that crunching hit that reduced the Steelers to 12.
Oh, Kahn. He sent him up.
A moment Martin Marcella would rather forget, and one that a severely concussed Willie Kahn certainly can't remember. The depleted Steelers, though, didn't lie down. This brilliant run from Britain helping McGregor to put the home side in front.
O'Neill took the dummy. McGregor's there. McGregor, he'll score. He'll bring the joint down.
The Broncos' old guard got going to regain the lead before the break. 2 tries from Renouf setting up the runaway win.
Second try, he angles back in.
At the Sydney Football Stadium, Jason Williams started the Bulldogs on the road to victory in typical fashion. But it was no formality. Andrew Walker's effort left the Roosters just 1 point in arrears late in the second half. It was up to reserve grader Stephen Price to seal it for the Dogs. Led by a dazzling display from fullback Phil Blake, the Warriors have notched up their first premiership points. Blake bagged 4 tries against Wests, the Maggies going down by 34 points. For Penrith, the afternoon looked like being a very long one as Gilmeister scored from an early kick at goal. But it wasn't to be. The Panthers recovered in spectacular style, running in 7 tries to 2 against the shell-shocked Crushers.
Newcastle has maintained their unbeaten record downing St George at Marathon Stadium, despite playing a man short for most of the game. Centre Jamie Ainscough was sent off in a high tackle charge as the Saints slumped to their 3rd straight loss. In other games, the Tigers were big winners over the Cowboys. Last night, Canberra overran the Eels and Gold Coast opened their account with a win over Souths.
The Dragons made all the early attack but couldn't convert pressure to points. After 15 minutes, their luck changed.
Brown, Mundine, on the toe, comes off the Gold Coast and he scores.
More trouble for the Knights when centre Jamie Ainscough went high.
High shot there, he sent him off.
Clever play by hooker Robbie McCormack gave Newcastle a 2-point lead at the interval. And the Johns brothers set up 2 tries for lock Darren Tracy. Despite a late fight back by the Saints, the Knights won 25-20 to maintain their unbeaten record.
Scored the try from there, and the Newcastle Knights take the lead.
The Tigers have survived a second-half scare to beat the North Queensland Cowboys at Parramatta. After trailing 22-4, the Cowboys narrowed the gap to 6 points. 3 late tries saw the Tigers home 38-16. A scare for Premiers Canberra with Parramatta running in 3 first-half tries to lead 18-12 at the break. But the Green Machine moved up a gear in the second half, crossing for 5 tries. The Raiders home 34-18. To cap a miserable night for the Eels, Captain Paul Dunn was dismissed after full time for arguing with referee Stephen Clark. Will picked up beautifully and Gold Coast recorded their first win of the season, thrashing Souths at Seagull Stadium. An inspired second-half performance by Craig Coleman turned the match after the teams were locked 6-all at half-time. Gold Coast ran out easy winners 28-6, piling on 4 second-half tries against the Rabbitohs.
Rounding out the 8, Brisbane and Illawarra play for their points after the news. In footy tab,
the reason everyone's supposedly interested in rugby league. The Western Reds in great shape for back-to-back wins against Cronulla. Yes, same team, different round, different paddock even. Lisa Dalton reports from the Wacker in Perth.
For the second time in 6 days, the Reds and the Sharks went into battle. The Reds looking for back-to-back victories under the Wacker lights. But it was Cronulla who went on the attack, an accurate Matthew Rogers putting the Sharks on the board. Then 22 minutes in, Jeff Bell offloaded a pass to David Peachey, who did the rest.
He's got plenty of skill, he offloads, and they're going to score the try.
A second conversion by Rogers saw Cronulla take an 8-0 lead. Mark Geyer was one of several Reds who came to grief in the first half. The big man injured his left knee but remained on the field. The home side made a dent on the scoreboard with a Chris Ryan conversion, but the Sharks led 8-2 at half-time. Cronulla resumed with a determined defensive effort, while the Reds suffered a crushing blow, Geyer limping out of the game, joining injured teammates David Boyd and Dale Fritz on the sidelines. Meanwhile, Cronulla shifted into overdrive, Sean Ryan finding the try line. And just a few minutes later, a superb run by Danny Lee and David Peachey gave Paul Green the opportunity to put the visitors further ahead.
Green on his own, and Green will score the try.
Cronulla continued to penetrate Reds' territory, Rogers finding Paul Donaghy.
Donaghy scores under the post.
Another Rogers conversion saw Cronulla streak away to a 24-2 lead. The Sharks buried the Reds with their 5th try of the night right on the siren. The visitors bouncing back from last weekend's crushing defeat at home with an emphatic 28-2 victory in the West.
And in Sydney, the Steelers and Souths doing battle. Souths trying desperately to overcome a long-running losing streak. Heidi Ahrens highlights the clash at the Sydney Football Stadium.
Illawarra entered the Sydney Football Stadium with a lot to defend. The Souths hadn't beaten the Steelers since 1989. But the 6 years of domination seemed all about to crumble when Illawarra lost key goal kicker Rod Wishart in the 14th minute.
Wishart came in, sorry Peter, that's high.
Wishart sent off for a high tackle on Rabbitohs captain Craig Field. Field was helped off with a broken nose. The Steelers a man down, but it didn't stop John Simon's strength pushing over for first points.
Simon, he gets it over.
Illawarra capitalised on a weak pass to interception the start of more Steelers aggression. Simon again at the centre of the action, his kick finding Paul McGregor. South winger Greg Clark left wondering what happened.
He's got the ball and scored!
With the score 8-0 at half-time, tensions rose.
This is stupid.
But the Rabbitohs couldn't put more punch into their defence, Jason Sinclair throwing a loose pass that ended up with Steeler Peter Phillips.
And Peter Phillips backs up on the inside to score!
And it only got worse for South. Down 14-0, Jason Bell was sent off for this tackle on Darren Fritz.
Oh, Fritz has been taken high!
South all but out, the Steelers getting past several players to put Sean Timmins over the line.
Scores the try! Sinclair dropped off him, but you can't just blame him.
But at 20-0 and 10 minutes to go, the Rabbitohs found some spirit. A questionable pass from Will Robinson to Darryl Trindle, but it was the 4 points South needed to get back into the game.
And Trindle gets the try.
And they were over again 2 minutes later.
Puts the head back and goes for it and gets it.
Then the surprise of the match, 20-10 to the Steelers and 1 minute remaining, Paul Mellor scores the Rabbitohs' 3rd try.
There's the try that Nostradamus fought and forecasted.
But not enough time on the clock to catch Illawarra, South bowing out 20-16.
We've got more. And it was a romp for the match-hardened Broncos. The Crushers not even getting a look in. Full highlights and details from Ben Davies in Brisbane.
The pre-match fireworks set the scene for the Battle of Brisbane. The game only 5 minutes old when the Broncos dealt the first blow, Langer darting over from dummy half.
Plowman, Langer on his own. Alfie Langer has 4 points.
But the Crushers didn't take it lying down. This chance to Plowman came soon after.
Plowman has regathered, and the touch judge has ruled that he's taken the corner post.
St John Ellis was on the receiving end of a rush of blood from Alfie, which seemed to spark Big Glenn Lazarus into action.
And Gelmister, bell ringer from Lazarus.
The Broncos' injury woes continued when Can was replaced with a shoulder injury, and down the other end, Wendell Saylor showed why he's one of the best wingers in the world.
Takes the catch, then comes back across field and away from 2. Wendell Saylor is away.
After leading 6-0 at the break, the Broncos wasted no time in the second half. A good run by young workhorse Brad Thorne led to the Broncos' second try, with the forwards combining to send Hancock over the line.
Now it's try time for Hancock. Fed out wide, and Hancock has the Broncos' second try.
Langer was proving a handful, running one off the ruck, setting up Smith.
And Langer runs the football, and with space, a man unmarked to the inside of Smith. Alfie Langer reads the play again, and Brisbane...
O'Neill made it 22-0 after a Broncos special.
Now Kevin Walters, inside for Kerrod. Kerrod turns O'Neill inside. He steps past Locke, and O'Neill slams the ball down for another 4-pointer for the Broncos.
The Crushers are deemed to be the team who just cannot score. First McKenna crossed the line but was denied.
Get that football down.
Then Mario had a go, only to fumble.
Here he goes, Mario. Did he get the ball down on the try line? The in-goal judge has a look. Manson consults and says no try.
Wendell Saylor scored in the corner after another Crushers mistake. Ben Hancock sealed the match with his second try of the night, showing pure strength and skill to get around Saru.
Tonight, the Roosters upset Penrith, and Canberra struggled a little bit in the heat against the Cowboys.
This was the start they wanted.
Spina thought about throwing the inside pass. He goes himself, though. Now he's got support on the inside. He gets it back to Boobang. This will be a great Cowboys try. First points to North Queensland.
The Cowboys playing their best football of the season. Canberra shell-shocked after 11 minutes, but the Raiders soon turned it around.
Bradley, Clyde should score. Here come the Raiders. There's the equaliser. Clyde gets the try. It's 4-all.
The Cowboys led 8-6 at half-time, but Canberra finished too strong, despite the heat and an improved North Queensland.
Lumen's on debut tonight. Fouls now. He finds a point out wide. Try to the Cowboys. Georgie Bartlett, take a bow.
At Penrith, John Carter.
His only concern, the Auckland coach desperately needing a victory after his side's poor start to the season. Phil Blake responded, the fullback racing over after just 7 minutes. The Warriors were unlucky not to go further ahead after Tewa appeared to be taken out by Jones. But a penalty never resulted, and the Bears took the lead when Larson brushed off Blake. The second half was all the Bears, Greg Florimo leading the onslaught as Norths ran riot, winning 48-10.
Superb pass.
Negotiators are talking to players at Cogra Oval. News Limited says it will take legal action against the league if they expel Canterbury, Canberra or Cronulla. In this TV war, New Warn Super League would not be exclusive to pay TV. It will be seen free-to-air, but it's certain it won't be on Packers Channel 9. Farron Hoffman, 10 News.
Yes, the controversy. There have been league games played. Last night the Roosters won while Canberra struggled against the Cowboys. Today's winners, West...
Came on the field, and it came at Cogra. George, chasing their first win of the season, scored first. Mark Bell finishing off a move which began around halfway. The Bulldogs came back, though, through some great work from John Timu for the first of his tries. The Dragons, though, went to the break with a 10-6 lead. The Bulldogs seemed to run away with the game in the second half. Again, Timu doing the work, firstly setting up Darryl Halligan. His second try came with St George down a man after Damien McGarry was sent off for a high tackle. More drama when Canterbury's Robert Tocco got his marching orders for attacking the head of an opponent and a further penalty for abusing the referee. The Dragons missed the penalty that came again in the last minute after a great run from Wayne Bartram. Nathan Brown scoring under the posts, St George getting home 22-18. A one-sided affair.
Easy winners over Parramatta 32-6. Manly 36 defeated the Gold Coast 10. And Newcastle far too strong for the Tigers 46-12.
Although unbeaten, the Knights have been concerned with slow starts. It was not a problem today. They led 12-0 after just 15 minutes.
And he'll score under the post mark, Sargent.
Shane Russell got the Tigers back into the match, but Andrew Johns made the most of his opportunities to put Newcastle ahead 18-6 at the break.
Scored the try.
Another try, this time to Paul Harrigan early after half-time, then put the result beyond doubt.
And Harrigan will score.
At Campbelltown Sports Ground, West scored their second win of the season, accounting for a pitiful Parramatta. The Magpies dominated every aspect as the Eels were put to the sword. At Brookvale, Cliff Lyons ran rampant against the Gold Coast. The Manly 5'8" had a hand in every Sea Eagle raid. Manly led 20-0 at the break and by full time had stretched the score to 36-10. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Last night, Canberra travelled to North Queensland and were lucky to come away with a win.
A large Canberra contingent has reportedly signed with News Limited, yet the Raiders were anything but super. In front of a packed Auckland Stadium, David Boveng brought the house down.
This will be a great Cowboys try.
Laurie Daly combined with Brad Clyde to put the Premiers in front, but high humidity hurt the Raiders, and as half-time loomed, the Cowboys turned up the heat.
Try to the Cowboys.
The home team led until 5 minutes from full time when a Ricky Stewart bomb fell favourably for Albert Koulabai. At Penrith, nothing favourable about the way John Cartwright felled Tony Iro. Sent off after just 90 seconds, Cartwright now faces a long Monday night at the judiciary. The Roosters made the most of their extra man advantage, winning by 19 points. Our table has Manly on top, with Cronulla and the Roosters rounding out the 8. The Bulldogs and St George play for their points right after the news.
Eagles beat
Field, and I guess the footy's been almost forgotten in the Friday night league match. Manly have downed Auckland 26-14.
Unlike most weekends, the football field has become the safest place for players, even accounting for the fiery welcome. No managers, no big dollar offers, no questions of loyalty, just what they do best. If only the same could be said for Eddie Ward.
Oh, double movement rule by Eddie Ward. That's a try.
The Warriors were first on the scoreboard though, an Amu penalty giving them 2 points, but determined to make the most of Auckland's well-publicised lack of match fitness, Manly caught them unaware.
It's a woeful mistake by Auckland.
On the next set of 6, Cliff Lyons sent the Seagulls on a raid.
Lyons comes to the blind side and beautifully given the ridge to put it over the line.
Ahead, but forced to make a mountain of tackles, Manly's composure was beginning to slip. The Warriors couldn't find a way through their defence, so they went over it.
Namu's kick. Oh, plucked out of the air by Sean Hoppy.
6 all. Another sniff of Auckland's try line, and another of Manly stars got across it.
Sprints over the 20. Steve Menzies, he makes it.
Manly leading at half-time 12-6, but it should have been more.
Puts the ball out, but he loses it.
It threatened to be a costly fumble, Auckland posting 2 tries after the break, and the scores were locked at 14.
Away, Hoppy's into the corner, Hoppy's in to score.
An upset within reach, the locals tried to beat Manly into submission.
John Hopewadi has it at the
But a couple of his mates as well.
Oh, Bertoli knows that he's in.
They may have been losing the battle of muscle, but the visitors won the war of skill.
Now they work the blind side for Bertoli. Inside for Danny Moore. Moore's away. He's in to score.
Menzies once again showed his strength and class as the Seagulls went 10 clear.
Menzies, get about the 1. Let's go for the 4.
Super League's new signing Matthew Ridge blowing away any flicker of hope.
He's got it.
Manly undefeated after 5 rounds, winning 26-14. Auckland again loses, but the potential is definitely there.
At the closeness of the scores, the Knights were always in control. They scored some good tries, like this one from Jamie Ainscough.
One-handed.
Penrith's little general Gary Freeman scored a smart solo try to keep his team in with a chance.
That's a try to Gary Freeman.
In a seesawing first half, the Knights led 20-12 at the break, and this was their best try.
He'll get the try.
Penrith's best try came from the finishing skills of winger Robbie Beckett.
Pace. No, yes, yes.
But it was Andrew Johns once again who inspired the Knights' win. He scored 18 of his team's points in their 26-20 scoreline.
Oh, miracle try.
Matter Stadium, the Western Reds set the tone of the match early with some heavy hits. However, the defence turned to jelly not long after.
Edlington will score, yes!
8-0, and the scoreboard was busy again when Simon Gillies threw the sweetest of passes.
That's a beautiful piece of play. Dallas will score!
With Mark Geyer's muscle sadly sidelined, the Reds' defence opened up again. Darryl Halligan with space to burn.
Well, Halligan was looking at giving it to Hedrington. He doesn't have to. All so easy.
At 26-0 down, the second half for the Reds saw the simplest things go wrong.
That's any kind of barometer.
While the Bulldogs set up camping rights in the Reds' half, Terry Lamb putting Simon Gillies away.
Well, Gillies, can he get it down?
Yes, he did.
Sydney Bulldogs 42, Western Reds 0. And it's
It's in Nine's match of the day directly after the news. In other round 5 matches, Illawarra 34 too strong for the Gold Coast 16. Canberra defeated St George 17-4. And the Crushers scored their first ever win, Downing North's 16-12.
For weeks, the Crushers had promised plenty. Today, they finally delivered. Little separated the two throughout, but a great team try to English halfback Mike Ford in the 23rd minute gave the home side a 4-point buffer at the break. The Bears then got their nose in front after a try to Matt Sears. But the Crushers weren't to be denied their slice of history. With Super League Supremo Ken Cowley watching, St George managed to stay with Canberra for half the game, but once the Raiders got going, the fancied result was never in doubt. The Dragons missed live wire hooker Nathan Brown, who was a late withdrawal with injury, while Brett Hetherington was a standout for Canberra. The defending premiers remain unbeaten, getting up by 13 points today. And the drama of losing their coach to Super League last week had no effect on Illawarra in their match against the Gold Coast. The Steelers led 12-6 at the break, but turned up the heat in the second half to finish comfortable 34-16 winners. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Last night in Townsville, a record crowd saw the Cowboys fail by 6 points to tame the Broncos.
The Broncos may be a super team, but 25,000 turned out to prove their heroes have always been Cowboys. And Paul Galia soon had them riding high in the saddle.
It's a try!
Brisbane returned fire when Willie Kahn caught Alan Langer's bomb. With cricket's holy grail on show, Langer's ground and aerial crusade put the Broncos beyond reach in the second half before the Cowboys mustered up a last-minute morale booster.
Play on, says Jeffs, play on! Gibson across to Lumens! Lumens will score! Oh, yeah!
In Darwin, Andrew Leeds lost all sense of direction in West's clash with the Roosters, but his teammates were flying high. The Roosters' resistance collapsed in the second half, West's winning by 28 points. At Parramatta Stadium, Souths broke their losing streak against the Eels, Craig Field creating 2 tries and claiming 2 himself. Cronulla scored their first home win of the season against Sydney Tigers, Shane Russell's try giving the visitors some scent of an upset before Paul Green put the issue beyond doubt. Manly remain undefeated on top of our table along with Newcastle, Brisbane and Canberra. The Bulldogs and the Western Reds play for their points after the news. Footy Tab picked the winners.
Came back from a thrashing at the hands of West last week to beat South Sydney tonight. The Bunnies couldn't deliver this Easter, outclassed 26 points to 8.
The Rabbitohs' win last week, their first in 10 rounds, looked to have started a new beginning. South starting well, but Sydney City surviving 3 sets of 6.
With Field, he might get there first, but it's with the Sydney City Roosters.
A penalty goal, the only reward for South's dominance of possession and position. The first time the Roosters were within range, and Andrew Walker-Bomb providing Darren Juni with a surprise Easter gift.
That gave all the runners a chance to get underneath it, and Darren Juni.
The Roosters made it 12-2 soon after. Centre-turned lock Luke Ricketson stepping some awful defence.
He's over the line.
And 4 minutes later, half Adrian Lamb caught the Rabbits in a trap for a 16-2 lead.
And I think it's a try. Yes, it is.
Andrew Walker was after any point he could get.
Drop goal by Walker, and he lands it as easy as you like.
If that was hard for the South Brain Trust to take, this was insufferable.
Shane Wilson gets a pretty good drop kick away. Field goal attempt.
Yeah, from 42 metres out. Walker's kick. Oh, it's a dream kick. Well.
18-2 at the break. Looking for a resurgence, South went to the air, and they were back within 10.
A chance, and they've got it.
But rugby convert Darren Juni had enjoyed his first try in league and had a hunger for more.
Chance on. He's come down with it, and he's got the try.
22-8. If his father, Roosters great Kevin Juni, wasn't bursting with pride after 2, then
Juni gets his third.
The South threw everything into a comeback. Sydney City denied them 3 times over the line. Phil Gould's 7 changes midweek had achieved the desired result. The Roosters recovering from last week's drubbing 26-8. The Bunnies leaving their Easter encounter with empty baskets.
And Western Reds coach Peter Mulholland struck back at his critics by guiding his side to an emphatic Good Friday victory over the Sydney Tigers in Perth.
The Reds trouncing the Tigers 22-6.
The hometown support of the Western Reds and the presence of Mark Geyer was enough for their form to do an immediate about-face. Just 2 minutes in, Matt Fuller was first across the line. Chris Ryan just failed to convert, but made amends with a brilliant run which set up the Reds' second try. Jason Eade evading all in the 18th minute.
He's going for the corner, he dives and he scores!
A penalty goal soon after put the Reds up 10 points to 0 and their confidence was soaring. None higher than Fuller, who kicked cleverly for his second try of the night.
Fuller goes it ahead, Fuller dives on it, try!
The Reds 16-0 up at half-time. The second half casualty rate was high. The Reds lost Eade and the Tigers did it without captain Paul Sirinen before losing their winger with what appeared to be a serious ankle injury. The Tigers' defence showed rare glimpses of their best, but scoring was another matter. 73 minutes had passed before they put a score on the board through Wes Patton. Even with Geyer's job over for the night, there was no letting up from the Reds. Jamie Olginek stretching the margin in the dying seconds. The Reds winning their third from 6 outings, 22-6.
Well, undefeated, but with the promise that coach Tom Radonicus would shave his head after 3 straight wins, West started with a flurry.
Not too far from the posts.
Andrew John's boot kept the Knights within striking distance, and a try right on half-time put them ahead by 4. The locals were sharpening the scissors when the Maggies scored 14 points in the first 8 minutes of the second half. West's relaxed, and that was their undoing. Jamie Ainscough and Ashley Gordon both scored converted tries. The teams were locked at 22-all. Both sides had field goals waved away. It was the final seconds that would decide this one.
Shot for field goal, it's close, it's there! It's kicked by Jamie Ainscough.
The Knights out of jail and still undefeated.
Intensity remains. James Pickering may face a report for his hit on Boyle. Hughes' tackle on Corvo was completely legal.
Oh, Bourne, hit by Glenn Hughes.
All the scoring in the first half came from penalty goals. The Raiders on top at the break, 6-2. Small pieces of play can often turn matches. Jason Williams will be haunted by an amazing tackle 7 minutes into the second half.
It's a try for the Bulldogs. Oh, he's got the ball down.
Denied by Boyle, Williams' nightmare continued at the other end of the field.
But the ball comes down and he gets the bounce off the upright.
With a 10-point lead, the Raiders flourished. Ken Nagus on the end of a backline sweep that put the game out of reach for the Bulldogs.
Nagus gets it over the line.
At Brookvale Oval, the South Queensland
play a Nines League match of the day, the Bulldogs versus Canberra, right after the news. In other round 6 games, North thrashed the Cowboys 60-6. Manly did the same to the Crushers 38-10, and the Warriors continued the lopsided results with a 38-12 win over Illawarra.
Last month, the Warriors had the wobbles in Wollongong, not so on home turf, squaring the ledger with the Steelers.
Hoppy will get there.
Illawarra gave the home side the occasional dose of the flutters.
Rodwell's going to get another one.
But the Kiwis kept them out. Former All Black John Kerwin made his first-grade debut from the bench, while his teammates showed him how it's done. Dwayne Mann created something from nothing as the Warriors enjoyed a 38-12 win. The Cowboys continue to have the roughest ride in the premiership, winless after 6 starts. Today at Bear Park, they were driven into the soil. Norse crossed 3 times in the opening 10 minutes. Billy Moore picked up 2 of those tries. Matt Toshak also finished with a first-half double. The Cowboys leaving the gate open and the coaching manual back in Townsville. 30-0 at the break, Norse ripped the heart out of the visitors in the second half with 4 touchdowns in an 8-minute burst. The Bears 60-6 winners, scoring 11 tries to 1. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
A week ago, the South Queensland Crushers were celebrating their first win. Today, they were brought back to earth by Manly at Brookvale.
Manly launched many raids throughout the first half, and the Crushers were lucky to be trailing by just 12 at the break. The Sea Eagles finally got it right when the Crushers got it wrong. A bomb backfired, and Craig Hancock outsprinted St. John Ellis in the race to the line. Tallis also had to hot-foot it when Hopewati took off. This time he got his man, but the Sea Eagles winger showed he's just not quick on his feet. Manly continued to run away with it in the second half. In all, they scored 6 tries to 2 to finish comfortable 38-10 Grinners. A hooker likes to keep busy, and the Gold Coast Jamie Goddard was on the job all night. At Seagull Stadium, the locals and Parramatta arm wrestled till the end. It was the sort of game that kept you on your seat and the players on their bellies. Goddard crossed twice in the Seagulls' second win of the season, the final score 22-18. Another thriller at Penrith Stadium, where the Panthers opened their paws for Cronulla. It was tight all night, and with 4 minutes to go, the scores were locked at 8-all. But then Mitch Healy broke the deadlock, and a penalty on the hooter gave the Sharks a 3-point win. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Maintained their unbeaten record, winning a spiteful match against St George. Despite losing Terry Mattison, sent off for allegedly using an elbow, Brisbane won 36-18. It's the Broncos' best start to the season since their debut in 1988.
Brisbane came out looking for their first win over St George in front of a Queensland crowd. And making things a little easier, Saints made a disastrous start. Mark Coyne sin-binned and winger Mark Bell off with broken ribs after saving a certain try. A high tackle by Glenn Lazarus early ignited the ill feeling between the two camps. The first half, full of cheap shots. Saints opened the scoring, a penalty goal, and it's there. The Broncos hit back 3 minutes later when Alan Langer sent Kevin Walters galloping through a gap. Walters will score! Lazarus scored Brisbane's second try, a slam-dunking effort. And it's a try! Brisbane pushed that lead to 18 points to 2, Walters grabbing a double. Kevin Walters will go all the way and score. Then, right on half-time, Langer put the game out of reach of the Dragons. A scrum win against the head, a little chip for Terry Mattison, and the Broncos led 24 points to 2. After the break, it was Saints' turn. Clever play by winger Ian Heron made it 24 points to 6. Brisbane were under more pressure when Mattison was marched for this tackle. The tackle that had Heron checking he had all his teeth. St George pulled another try back. An inside ball from Mundine, and Mark Coyne wins the race to the line. Mark Coyne will score. He's got far too much pace for them. Down to 11 men, captain Alan Langer did the lead-up work for Brisbane to go out to a lead of 30 points to 12. Second row, Gordon Tallis showed a clean pair of heels to score the Saints' third try. The Broncos made the full-time score 36 points to 18 when Michael Hancock, chasing a kick, got the dream bounce. After round 6, the competition table looks like this. 4 teams undefeated on top, with the Sydney City Roosters just in the top 8 on percentages. Auckland and the Gold Coast move up, but nothing's changed at the bottom, with the Cowboys still chasing a win. Next week's big game, Brisbane take on the Bulldogs. Russell Fairfax, 10 News.
Australia Brisbane Broncos to a 13 points to 8 win over the Sydney Bulldogs at the ANZ Stadium tonight. The Broncos trailed 2-0 at half-time, but little Alfie led the home side to its 7th straight win.
The first points in the first half came after 10 minutes, a penalty goal to Darryl Halligan. But both sides had try-scoring chances. A great run by Kevin Walters almost opened up the Broncos' account.
Kevin Walters is in space. Pull down 20 metres out.
The Bulldogs' best break came from replacement half Peter Wheeler, but it was again Kevin Walters who saved the Broncos.
Little Wheeler, he's into a big space. He's got support. It's Jason Smith. Can he get there? No, he's pulled down.
Kevin Walters, what a tackle.
With a minute to go to the break, Hancock burst through the Bulldogs' defence.
Using the panic, Hancock. Hancock is over the halfway. Matthew Ryan's after him. So too is Williams. He loses the ball.
Andrew G made a very simple mistake in the 4th minute of the second half, but it was a mistake that resulted in a converted try to Robert Relf soon after.
Straight and hard for the line, and he's over.
The breakthrough for the Broncos came when big Glenn Lazarus burst through under the posts.
Lazarus scores for the Broncos.
Bronco prop Brad Thorne was off with the Fairies after he was crunched by Jim Dimmock. He eventually regained consciousness after treatment on the ground, but was carried from the field on a stretcher. Then the capacity crowd was on its feet for the brilliance of Alan Langer.
The Bulldogs, can they hold? Langer brothers! Langer! Oh! He's magnificent, the little man! He is magnificent!
With 4 minutes to go, a rare field goal from a snap by Julian O'Neill to leave the Broncos 5 points clear. And that was it. The Broncos winning the match 13-8, their 7th successive win of the season.
His rugby skills gave the Dragons an early 6-0 lead. Scrambling defence and Jason Taylor's boot kept St George's lead to 6 at the break. Gordon Tallis punished the North's defence soon after. Wayne Bartram put the result beyond doubt. A late tackle by Bears 5'8" Greg Florimo provided an 8-point opportunity. However, Heron could only manage to land one of the 2 shots. Norths replied through centre Ivan Cleary that the Saints claimed their 2nd win of the season. Last night at ANZ
pre-match, could the Reds hold the green attacking machine? Instead, it was the Westerners querying Canberra's resolve. After dominating the early stages, the loss of playmaker half Matt Rodwell, knocked out after a heavy Ricky Stewart tackle, stalled the Reds' onslaught. Then from bad to worse, a horrible refereeing mistake putting the Raiders in ideal position.
Potter had it, was taken into high tackle. Oh, that's a ridiculous decision.
The frustration told, Matt Fuller finding the sin bin, Steve Walters the try line.
Got there, I think he has.
With Fuller off, Canberra scored again. With Fuller on, the Reds struck back.
It goes to Fuller.
And right on half-time, Peter Shields sending Tim Horan away to level the match at 12.
Horan did out of it.
After the break, Shields stealing possession, the Reds stealing the lead.
It comes across towards the winger.
A Horan field goal made it 17-12. The Raiders went to their regular Stewart high ball mode and were back in front. But the Reds just followed suit, Greg Fleming sneaking the 4 points by a centimetre. More bad refereeing decisions had the Reds struggling, and that's all Canberra needed. 2 quick tries and they regained the lead and moved 7 clear. Attempting a comeback in the final minutes, the Reds were on the end of another woeful ruling, a try incorrectly denied, and the Westerners went home unlucky 28-21 losers. Canberra's unbeaten record scratched but not broken.
Reds forward Mark Geyer has been placed on report for hitting referee Kelvin Jeffs in the head with the ball during a gripping match against Canberra. The Raiders scraped home after the Reds led during the second half. No struggle for Auckland, they easily downed the Eels. The Roosters struggled against Gold Coast, while the Steelers and the Crushers played out a thrilling draw.
The Reds were facing a tall order against the Premiers in Canberra, and the Raiders looked set for a runaway win when they raced in 2 early tries.
He flicks it over the top,
but the Reds struck back, replacement Tim Horan levelling the scores at the break.
He throws it back on the inside. This is a try. Timmy Horan. Horan's it out of the post.
An upset was on when Greg Fleming gathered in this bomb to give the Reds the lead.
Getting through quickly. Fleming plucked it out of the air and scored.
The Raiders protested. Fleming crossed the dead ball line, but soon had their minds back on the job. Fullervai's second try, keeping their unbeaten home record since 1993 intact.
Daly's got it back. Eppo. And it comes to Fullervai. And Fullervai scores, and he's going to bring it down. Fullervai scores under the post, and so the Raiders are back in front. But
Parramatta has struggled with just 1 win this season, but early they showed signs of troubling the Warriors.
Justin Morgan, they finally get it.
But the international class of Auckland was far superior. At half-time, they were well in control before storming away to an impressive 40-4 thrashing.
So well.
At the Sydney Football Stadium, the Gold Coast gave the Roosters a scare with 2 impressive early tries, but the Roosters hit back to lead 16-8 at the break. Phil Gould's men were far from convincing as the Coast got back to within 4 points before the Roosters kicked away for a 28-16 victory. The South Queensland Crushers are proving a force at Lang Park. Against Illawarra, they ran to an 18-2 lead at half-time.
Plowed it all the way to the try line.
Then a controversial decision, referee Tony Kelly sending off the Crushers' Terry Cook. In a thrilling finish, the Steelers piled on 20 points in 20 minutes to grab a 24-all draw. Warren Sim, 7 Nightly News.
Newcastle has stretched its winning sequence to 7 matches by downing Souths at Marathon Stadium. The Knights came from behind, finally winning 34-16. Last night, the Magpies upset Cronulla at Caltex. Manly thrashed the Cowboys, and the Tigers just home against Penrith.
The Rabbits were expected to struggle at Marathon Stadium, but a try after 15 minutes gave them the lead before the Knights stormed back through Harrigan. South showed plenty of spirit to hit back with a brilliant try from Darryl Trindle.
To the 10-metre line, Trindle!
But Newcastle had too much class to remain undefeated.
The pair, they'll score. Davies.
A disappointing end for Souths with Trindle sent off for a high tackle late in the match.
High, and I think Trindle is off.
The Western Suburbs resurgence under coach Tom Radonicus continued last night against Cronulla at Caltex Field. The Sharks led 14-6 with just 12 minutes remaining before two late tries gave the Magpies their third win in the last 4 matches. At Townsville, the Manly machine continued its point-scoring spree, this time at the expense of the Cowboys. Centre Danny Moore celebrating his homecoming with a hat-trick of tries. Manly big winners, 36-14.
Danny Moore will get a hat-trick. Manly have posted another try.
And the Sydney Tigers have recorded their third win of the season, downing Penrith 13-10. The Tigers stormed home in the second half after trailing 10-2 at the break. A try by centre Tim Brasher setting up the victory. Peter Mears, 7 Nightly News.
Points, while Manly was too strong for St George, winning 24-6.
Manly's boom forward Steve Menzies opened the try scoring with a smart try started by Terry Hill. Hill scored himself 18 minutes later when Cliff Lyons put him into a hole. St George clearly had last year's 61-0 embarrassment on their minds, and it didn't surprise when play erupted just prior to half-time. Referee Eddie Ward then called in all players from both sides for a caution to put an end to the ill-feeling and the niggling. Manly led 12-6 at the break. The Sea Eagles' rock-like defence was caught napping just once in the match.
Goldthorpe chasing this through. He's going to win the race to the ball. He's got it.
But a try to Matthew Ridge, which brought up his 100 points for the season, put Manly well clear at 20-6. And then the Sea Eagles sealed the issue with a try from a set piece started by Cliff Lyons and finished by Craig Hancock. Manly remain unbeaten, winning 24-6. Down in the national capital last night, the Premiers Canberra reduced the Broncos to a trot. In a frightening display, the Green Machine crushed previously unbeaten Brisbane 26-0. While David Furner provided the power, that man, Brett Mullins, provided the magic.
Kick and chase by Mullen. Kick and chase again by Mullen. This will be a miracle. Oh, it is a miracle. Oh.
But there was a sour note, with rugged prop Quinton Pongia placed on report by referee David Manson for this tackle on Willie Kahn. And a worrying time for Brisbane's Kevin Walters, also on report for his tackle on Ricky Stewart. Across the Nullarbor, the Western Reds left it until 6 minutes from full time to beat Penrith. Divine justice for the Reds, home 18-16, and relief for coach Peter Mulholland. Tony Peters, 10 News.
Artisan Bulldogs shared 5th spot in the league before this game, but that was about all they had in common in the first half. Precise and persistent, the Bulldogs led 8-0 after 20 minutes. They should have led by more. Instead, they went to the break ahead by only 2 after some Bears brilliance.
Taylor there, Hall is there, so is Cleary. Now it's Hall. Hall steps, looks for the line, back to Matt Sears, and Sears, he scores. Magnificent try.
A bumbling start to the second half by Matt Ryan, bruising for Glenn Hughes on Ivan Cleary. Just when the Bulldogs looked like stretching their lead, Matt Sears chopped them down again.
And what about Matt Sears?
The points were there, though, just on the other side of the field.
And over goes Halligan.
12-6, Halligan finished it off, his conversion vital. Just 3 minutes later, the Bears' Tony Hearn went over, perhaps doubling up, but still collecting the try. Taylor added the 2, but the Bears were still 2 behind and out of time. At Steel...
Representative teams will be announced tonight for next Friday's City Country match. Meanwhile, Nine's match of the day sees the Bulldogs take on North Sydney right after the news. In other round 8 results, West defeated the Tigers, South Queensland crushed Parramatta, the Cowboys upset winners over Illawarra, Newcastle beat the Gold Coast, and Auckland just home against the Roosters.
The Roosters made a super start on foreign soil, blasting to a 12-4 half-time lead. But with the wind and one of the best hometown crowds in the business behind them, the Warriors hit back.
Last tackle, he's got a shift. Brilliant!
Captain Dean Bell scored 2 tries in the 26-22 win. The Roosters' day soured with the send-off of Tony Iro. West had to work hard against Balmain. The Magpies down 12-0 after 8 minutes, but 3 quick tries just before half-time gave them a 4-point edge. West clinched the home ground win with Darren Willis's late lucky try. Replacement Justin Dooley made sure of it. The Magpies home 30-12. And at Suncorp Stadium, Dale Shearer made a wonderful return to football after a 9-month layoff. In his first game for the Crushers, he scored a hat-trick of tries as South Queensland converted a 10-0 half-time lead over Parramatta into a 19-point victory. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
At Steeler Stadium, it was high noon for Illawarra, with the Cowboys registering their first win.
The Steelers had numerous opportunities to open the scoring, but it was the Cowboys who showed better first-half finish. There were only 2 tries before the break, and both came from the visitors and their blindside raids.
And he will score.
The second half saw Illawarra blow more chances.
That's reserve-grade stuff there.
While the Cowboys, with a little luck, didn't miss a beat. The Steelers scored twice in the last 10 minutes, but it was all too late. The Cowboys are now celebrating their first win of the season.
That is full time.
At Seagull Stadium, Gold Coast shocked Newcastle with a 12-10 lead at half-time, but the Knights have made a great start to the comp, and that continued today. In a free-flowing match, Newcastle won 27 points to 20, equalling the club record of 8 consecutive wins. Last night at the football stadium, Cronulla got its campaign back on course, while Souths are still looking for some direction. In what was a dismal match for the Rabbitohs, Paul Shahin got his marching orders 64 minutes in, while the Sharks didn't concede a point. Cronulla easy 24-0 winners. With Norths and the Bulldogs playing for their points after the news, Manly, Canberra and Newcastle sit on top of the table. The Cowboys are finally on the board. In footy...
Rain bucketing down, conditions couldn't have been any worse on a night when a new generation of stars were keen to grab centre stage. In particular, the forwards ripped in from the opening whistle.
Some heavy defence over the top. Mark
Carroll and Kosef are teammates at Manly, but you would never have guessed.
Nick Kosef, first touch of the ball, and Mark Carroll. There's been a head clash here between the two. Thank you very much, Manly teammates.
Anybody who ever thinks that representative football, when you've got teammates up against each other, don't give everything, have a look at that.
The first opportunity went City's way via the boot of Jason Taylor.
Here's the kick for the winger that Blocker spoke of. Gordon's under it. It goes away from Gordon, and then McGregor tries to clean up.
With the ground so heavy, the kicking game was all important, and certainly Andrew Johns loses nothing in comparison with Taylor.
Last moment, then the little chip over the top. Again, Brasher has lost it.
Despite the conditions, both teams were still prepared to throw the ball around.
David Barnhill over halfway. Brad Mackay, lovely ball from Barnhill to Carter. Stringing the passes together, Johns into Rodwell.
Playing that type of entertaining football, Country had the better of play in the first half.
Muir inside. Muir back to the Johns. Pressure on Willis to take the pass. He does well, Darren Willis.
While Country kept hammering the line, City's defence was outstanding.
Kicking for the wing. It's beautifully taken by Robbie Beckett. A real confidence booster for this Penrith youngster.
A Johns penalty goal put the Country boys in front 2-0 just before the break.
Points are on the board.
After withstanding Country's onslaught, City posted the first try 2 minutes into the second half. Florimo set it up and Brasher did the finishing.
Needs support. The kick over the top. Brasher and Johns. Brasher is first there and has the first 4-pointer. Tim Brasher for City, getting to the ball first.
Great stuff by the City boys. They absorbed all the pressure. Adam Muir, the man, comes up with a miss. Florimo, we saw him do this time and time again on the Kangaroo Tour. And Tim Brasher. A great little fullback, Timmy Brasher.
The rain still hadn't doused the fire among the forwards. Barnhill and Carroll had a disagreement, but referee Eddie Ward paid the price.
Country with a chance here. Eddie Ward scores!
Way to go.
Down he goes. They applied the 8 count to Eddie Ward.
After 55 minutes, City went further in front. Watch the soccer skills of Craig Hancock.
Taylor kicking judiciously for the corner. The chase coming from Hancock. The ball towed through forward. Offside was Brasher. Hill will have a try for City. Tim Brasher thinking all the time. He knew he was offside after toe through from Hancock.
Good stuff by Taylor, actually running to the line, pulling all the defence in. And amazing soccer skills here by Hancock. Great foresight to kick that. And that just might get him a New South Wales jumping. Tezza on the spot.
Down 10-2, Paul Harrigan did his best to keep the boys from the bush going forward.
Hurtling his way through the defence.
Despite his efforts, Country fell further behind.
Country right out of this match. Menzies, 10 metres out. Will they stop Stephen Menzies? No, they won't. Menzies got away from 2. And City Origin have their third try. That should just about be the ball game. 14 points to 2.
With Paul McGregor doing the damage, Country finally crossed the line with 5 minutes remaining.
Good ball inside McGregor.
Here comes a try for Country. David Woods has the try. The ball came from Paul McGregor.
Till the end, though, Harrigan was inspirational. This hit on Menzies typifying the clash among the forwards. Although losing 16-8, Country captain Paul Harrigan was judged man of the match. Sick before the game, Harrigan came up with 21 hit-ups and 33 tackles.
All those players that played today are very good players, and we're going to get their chance anyway. They just got it sooner than they expected, and they played real well.
I'll tell you what, mate, I really enjoyed the battle between you and Spud. He just kept coming, Big Spud, didn't he?
He did, and it was some good rivalry there, and he's a very tough competitor.
George needed just 14 minutes to crack the brittle Steelers' defence. 2 good long passes did the trick.
Mark Coyne goes for the corner himself, gets it down.
4 minutes later, powerhouse forward Gordon Tallis went over, and it was 12-0. The Saints went further ahead after the Steelers' defence went missing in action yet again.
Last tackle, Goldthorpe goes himself and gets there.
It was 18 points to 2 at the break. The Saints looking good, Illawarra right off their game. Former Illawarra player Graham Bradley added further to the Steelers' embarrassment.
As Bradley's away, he's got support too, he throws the dummy. He's fooled everyone at Graham Bradley.
Tony Priddle added an easy try to make it 30-2 before Illawarra hooker Sean Skelton scored his team's only try. Ricky Walford added the 5th for St George, with Illawarra missing a stunning 31 tackles in the match. St George far too good, winning 34-8. Last night
of the Premiership, and our match of the day is between Norths and Canberra right after the news. In other results, Penrith defeated West 33-20. Souths too good for the Tigers, 25-18. The Roosters 17 beat the Crushers 6. Brisbane thrashed the Western Reds 32-8, and Newcastle remained undefeated after rolling Auckland 48-6.
Looking for its best start to a season, Newcastle was on a mission, and Captain Sargent was the perfect general. The match was just minutes old when Ainscough pounced on an Auckland mistake. Even with 6 players backing up from Friday night's City Country clash, the Knights were full of drive and led 18-0 at the break. The second half was even more lopsided. Newcastle crossed for another 5 tries to finish with a total of 8 in the 48-6 Warrior whitewash. The Western Reds suffered the full repercussions of Brisbane's bad loss to Canberra last week. The Broncos erased their first defeat of the season with a clinical performance at home.
What a great side.
There was a scare for the Reds' Matthew Fuller late in the match. He was stretchered off in a neck brace after his head hit the ground heavily. Brisbane crossed for 7 tries to finish 32-8 winners. And Penrith has recorded its 3rd win of the season, beating West in another high-scoring game. The Panthers' afternoon work resulted in 6 tries and a favourable 33-20 scoreline. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
3 players were sent off for fighting in the Balmain Souths game, the most notable Tim Brasher, who was considered a certainty for State of Origin selection.
Chief organiser of Parramatta Stadium was Craig Field. The nippy half worked with Tyron Smith to give David Penner the opening shot at the line. Derek McVeigh spun and weaved before dovetailing with Mark O'Neill to keep the Tigers in the hunt. The Rabbitohs blew to an 18-6 lead. 2 tries to Tim Brasher evened it up, but South had the final say in the 25-18 victory, which finished with fireworks. Brasher's high shot angered Mark McGaw. Craig Carrington got involved and all 3 were sent off. At the football stadium, Mark Hone's experience kick-started the Crushers' day against the Roosters. The visitors led 6-2 at half-time, but that's where their points ended. Roosters half Adrian Lamb put the Queensland selectors on notice that he wants an Origin jumper, setting up Peter Clark and then crossing for his own, the Roosters' 17-6 winners. On a wet Sydney Saturday night, Parramatta emerged from its 6-week losing gloom with a 16-point win over the North Queensland Cowboys. The Eels played some smart football, scoring 3 tries to 1 for a 20-4 win. Cronulla launched a devastating raid on the Gold Coast at Seagull Stadium with a 7-try blitz. Andrew Eddinghausen was at his typical slippery best, headlining his side's 40-14 victory. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
There were 3
To take the match of the day against Norths at Bear Park, the Raiders were trailing 18-2 midway through the second half, but Jason Croker, Laurie Daly and Ricky Stewart led their side to victory in the final minutes.
After blitzing Brisbane last week, it appeared Canberra could only be beaten by some Bear Park magic. The sleight of hand took just 90 seconds to appear.
Should be a double movement or held up. Which way's he going? Try. He's going to give it.
Soden's hands and knees effort was matched by 2 first-half tries to David Hall, the second from a brilliant Billy Moore pass.
They won't catch him. David Hall.
But the 18-2 half-time scoreline lasted as long as it took the teams to change ends. Daly scored from a quick tap. Wiki touchdown after Croker regathered Stewart's chip.
Croker gets it away for Wiki, and Ruben Wiki scored.
And the Bears could only watch in despair as Daly laid on the match winner for Nandruku.
Daly rolls it in and a goal. Scored by Nandruku.
Furner's conversion was true and the Raiders had somehow escaped. At ANZ Stadium...
To watch the Sea Eagles make it 9 wins in a row, the score, extraordinary, 26-0.
Football's fiercest rivalry used to be between Manly and Parramatta. The Bulldogs now play at the Eels' home ground and they dislike the Sea Eagles just as much.
Heavily.
18 minutes of chanceless football came to an end when Halligan's hands went numb and Manly's try sniffers did the rest.
Real chance. Kosef with the long pass. Lions now. Mincy inside the 20. Terry Hill. He'll do it. He nails it.
Still contemplating Manly's raid, the Bulldogs had barely caught their breath before the Sea Eagles were in again.
Down the left-hand flank. Cliffy Lyons is heading for the corner. Not Hill. He'll make it. Cliffy Lyons is over.
The Dogs' defence up the middle was unwavering.
Oh, Carroll!
But out wide, Manly were playing touch football.
Lyons is with it now. Can they get their third? It's gone out and on to Terry Hill. And Terry Hill, he gets his second try. And Manly get their third.
14-0. The match Manly's at half-time. If the Bulldogs fans were looking for solace from the second half, they were disappointed.
And it's cut off Canterbury down to Menzies. And Menzies.
Not content with his State of Origin selection, Terry Hill put Jack Ellsgood in, and the hiding was complete. The season's biggest game might not be New South Wales versus Queensland next Monday, but Manly against Canberra in a fortnight.
Just finally in league.
4 minutes old when Paul Langmack pointed west in the right direction.
Langmack out wide, and here comes a try. McGuinness breaks through in the centres.
The Western Reds were tackle shy and the Magpies made easy yards.
Andrew Willis. Here's a bust being made by Stewart.
Against the run of play, the Reds did show some enterprise 15 minutes in.
Spink. Good bust made by the Reds. Good support play by the Reds.
The playmaker Langmack has been calling the shots at West and his younger teammates have answered the call.
On from Langmack. And Andrew Willis goes in. Ah, that's too easy. That's too easy.
The Reds have a serious problem in defence and the Magpies expose the weakness just 3 minutes later.
Short of the line by a half a metre. From dummy half. Georgialis puts it over the line, and that's their third try.
Mark Dyer will continue to be a spectator after his appeal against a 4-match suspension was turned down. But his teammates finally had some better luck, although they still trailed by 14 points at half-time.
The big fellow goes for it. Does he get it down? Yes, he does. It's a try for Goldspink.
Like the opening half, the Magpies started the last 40 minutes full of running.
35 metres out from the Reds line.
Brendan Tudor was the second Western Red put in the sin bin for lying on the tackled player.
Friday night, here's another sin bin player. That's sweet for the match. The referee's been very strong in that area.
The Reds picked up from that moment, Matt Fuller leading the charge.
Fuller, straight through. Fuller, can he make it? No, pulled down.
But West's defence held firm, and 4 minutes from time, the Magpies put on another 2 tries.
Looks for McGuinness, and he's brought down 3 metres out from the line. Georgialis for Billy Dunn, and Billy Dunn. Well done, Billy Dunn.
The final one going the way of Paul Smith.
Now, chance down the flank. Oh, it's more than a chance. He'll score, Paul Smith.
Man of the match, Andrew Leeds, converted both, handing the Super League defectors another big loss, 32 points to 6. Despite the lopsided result, Leeds conceded the second half was tough work.
The 30 minutes in that second half really was very much a struggle. It was very much an arm wrestle. Eventually he came out in front, and I think that's what killed them with that try that really set them on their backs.
Again, tremendous spirit shown by the Magpies in the crowd tonight. You've crept over that 10,000 mark. Great support, the players coming from the field.
Yeah, well, that's the first time we've had 5 figures for about 3 or 4 years, I think. So I'd like to thank the crowd for showing up, and hopefully we can make it at 12 or 13 next time.
Nicely done. Where the Tigers played host to the Gold Coast. The result remained in doubt until the end, with the Tigers finally getting home 16 points to 14.
For the Tigers' Gary Jack, it was a nervous welcome back to the Premiership.
Touch, and he misses the ball.
No fumbles from the Gold Coast, with Coleman, Wilson and Peacock combining for the first try.
Peacock scores the first try of the match.
The Gold Coast was on a roll, and a desperate ankle tap just stopped Hodge from extending the lead.
Sliding.
But another pretty pass saw the Tigers strike back, and only 2 points separated the sides at the break.
Good try by the Tigers.
Courtesy of ordinary defence, the Tigers then edged ahead.
Cochrane's away for the try.
But throughout the match, the lead changed hands, and Ricky McGrady gave the Gold Coast one last sniff of an upset.
McGrady beats them all.
Even if he wanted, Sirinen couldn't watch the finish, but Cochrane eased his pain with a match-winning try.
He's over, he's got it.
The State of Origin match, 2 teams signed with Super League completed this weekend's split round with a game that provided high excitement.
Sailing and rugby league didn't have a lot in common until today. The Auckland Warriors riding home on the wake of a Black Magic-inspired wave of patriotism.
Speed, back the ball came for Doreen. Warriors will have the first time. Doreen gets there.
Cronulla star Andrew Ettinghausen, only playing today because his Super League ties exclude him from State of Origin, did everything but touch down. That was left to Mitch Healy, and the Sharks led 8-6 at the break. Magic hands from English League recruit Richie Blackmore and twinkle toes by Sean Hoppy put the Warriors ahead again. Their lead stretched to 6 when All Black legend John Kerwin scored his first rugby league try.
Here's Kerwin's chance. Will he score in the corner? John Kerwin, he will. Kerwin gets it down. Third try to the Warriors.
The uncanny Ettinghausen got the Sharks back to level terms.
ET scores.
And the Warriors' bad defensive habits returned to haunt them when Cronulla fullback Ben Salmon sliced through.
And the Sharks are away. How quickly can this game turn?
However, with a 42-point flogging in Newcastle, a fresh, painful memory, Auckland was determined not to let this one slip away. Rookie 5'8" Stacey Jones edged the Warriors in front, and Haitro Okasini made absolutely sure of it.
Kearney inside for the big man, Okasini.
Another good reason for celebration in Auckland tonight.
The series in a game watched on Channel 9 by more than 1,100,000 Sydney-siders. Double that if you count the pubs and clubs. Of course, the Super League players weren't there, but the 2-0 victory over New South Wales produced all the courage and sheer will to win of days gone by.
Nobody was really quite sure what sort of a game we were going to get, but by night's end, Origin 1 was a smash.
Pressure taken by 3 and 4 of the Queenslanders.
Riding on the passion in that jumper, the Maroons' band of rookies defied all the odds, leading 2-0 at the break.
Kick is good.
The second half was another roller coaster ride of emotions. The Blues pressed, but Queensland didn't bend. And at the finish, the underdogs had risen to a mighty occasion.
And that is it. Queensland have won.
It was touching to watch as players and coach realised what they'd done.
Well done, mate. The whole game they were just yelling out Queensland, Queensland, Queensland. I got sick of hearing it, you know, but certainly got them through.
I don't know how many times we said it, but we just said it again and again and again.
The Blues dressing room was in despair and not in the mood for what should have been.
Anybody who thinks, you know, like this footy's not going to be any good without the other players, I'm telling you now, you're dead set wrong.
Oh, I thought it was one of the best start of Origin games I've seen. I think it was right up there with the best of them. I really do.
And that's what made the celebration so sweet. The Maroons were the biggest outsiders in Origin history to all but themselves.
Emotionally, I've been on the highs and I've hit a few lows, but it's just been a fantastic week. I can't wait till the next one.
Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Sydney's woes, the Broncos' flying winger Wendell Saylor scoring a hat-trick of tries in the 18-9 victory in Sydney.
Desperate for a win to stay in touch with the leading bunch, North shocked strongly fancy Brisbane with a sensational start, scoring after just 75 seconds.
They're going to score! They have scored! Miraculous start, Matt Koschak!
Jason Taylor added a neat field goal to the conversion to give North a good buffer approaching half-time.
Goes for the drop goal. This time, he's got it.
But Brisbane, although outplayed for most of it, made it heartbreak for North when Wendell Saylor stepped through right on half-time.
Run by Saylor. He'll score.
Despite their domination, the Bears only led 9-8 at the break. The masters of counter-attack Brisbane regained their poise 7 minutes into the second half with a freakish try from that man Saylor.
He's gone 50 metres and now he's into space. Oh, they won't catch him. Saylor runs the length of the field.
Brisbane were now in front for the first time, 14-9. They should have gone further ahead when Wendell Saylor appeared to score his third try.
Oh, Darren Smith, that was magnificent. And the Saylor dives in, but it's been recalled.
But referee David Manson denied him. But shortly after, Saylor got his hat-trick in the 65th minute after inspiring play by captain Alan Langer.
Here's Langer, gets the regather. There comes the support. Darren Smith away. Out wide, Hancock uses Kevin Walters. Now Wendell Saylor. He looks for three. He gets it.
Brisbane were now safe at 18-9, having dominated the second half with man of the match Wendell Saylor doubling his try-scoring tally for the season.
They needed an early boost of confidence and Brett Rodwell provided just that. But shortly after, Jared McCracken bulldozed his way to the line to put the Bulldogs back on level terms.
From McCracken, that's a fantastic try.
Then the try of the match. Great work from Newton and Berrigan to give Halligan a clear run to the line. And the Dogs a 12-point lead at the break.
To the halfway, he steams. It's 2 against 1. And away goes Halligan. Chased by John Cross. Cross giving it everything, but Halligan's got too much.
A Terry Lamb try made it 22-4 early in the second term, but then a brilliant Illawarra fight back.
Over the top for Rodwell, and he gets it to Richard.
The Steelers showed tremendous spirit to get within 2 points, but ran out of time. The Bulldogs getting home 22-20.
Their way to premiership favouritism by ending Canberra's 2-year unbeaten streak at Bruce Stadium. The Sea Eagles now sit alone at the top of the ladder, the previously unbeaten Newcastle falling in the upset of the round to the Crushers, while St George handed Parramatta a 50-point hiding.
A sea of support for both teams, some fans less comfortable than others. In front of a full house, an early crack in Canberra's foundations. Owen Cunningham setting up a manly raid.
He's over the 10 metres. Now it's gone away there to Hopewadi, and he's over.
Blaring tempers broke up the game's pace. Ricky Stewart and Mark Carroll the offenders. Trailing 6-0, the Raiders looked set to close the gap until John Hopewadi thought otherwise.
Stewart won't catch him. Mullins is coming across. Hopewadi.
A length of the field reply, Manly ahead 10-0 at the break. Their first half attack matched by their second half defence. But 3 incidents quickly changed the mood. Cunningham sin bin. A minute later, Steve Walters over.
Takes the tap, there's a chance on. He's over.
Then Jeff Tuvey's post-try protest left the Eagles 2 men short and the Raiders with the odds.
He's on his way, and he's going to score!
As Fullerby crossed, David Furner received attention for this hit by Carroll. The Origin prop is on report. Only 2 points ahead, but back to full strength, the Eagles clung on. Cliff Lyons' intercept assuring the visitors of victory. The Eagles are alone on top of the table following South Queensland's upset win against Newcastle. Down 12-2, the Crushers scored 3 tries to lead 16-14 at half-time. Their dominance continued. Darren Plowman and Wayne Collins crossing. The final score 28-18. And at Cogra,
a league lesson for hapless Parramatta. St George crossed 4 times in the first half and kept the point-scoring spree going for the entire game. When the dust settled, the Dragons had run in 10 tries to 1 in a 56-6 shellacking. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
The Roosters only just escaped last night against North Queensland and Townsville, winning 20-16.
Stockland Stadium is a cauldron of local support. 20,000 last night, but no stage fright for Andrew Walker just 2 minutes in.
He will score!
James Smith kept the Roosters on a roll, pushing it to 8-2.
Perhaps James.
A nice start, ruined by a Cowboy fight back. The locals suddenly hungry for their first hometown win.
Yes!
Great Britain star Jonathan Davies made his debut.
Yes!
His drive with the boot rubbing off as the Cowboys went to 16-14 near full time. But victory was snuffed out by Luke Ricketson, who scored a late try to get the Roosters home 20-16. Hardly a vote of confidence from Penrith supporters on the club's defection, and even more painful with the brilliant form of Brad Fittler. He's staying with the ARL and last night put on a faultless audition as he looks for a new club. Fittler crossed twice and set up 3 other tries in the 42-10 victory. For South, it was a bad night all round. Our ladder has Manly and Canberra playing for their points after the news. The Magpies make up the top 8 with a 4-point buffer to North Sydney. 4 teams are in the race for the wooden spoon.
In disarray tonight, the family club look in need of some counselling following their unbelievable demise to lowly Parramatta. The Dogs played like they had other things on their minds after a traumatic week when 4 players switched back to the ARL in their game's Super League war. Classy centre David Woods inspired the much criticised Eels to their 22-16 upset.
Searching for their first win at home against the Bulldogs since 1987, the much-maligned Eels got a dream start after 9 minutes.
Intercepted by Lawler. Lawler's on his way. Tassel won't catch him, and Lawler, he dives in to score the first try of the game.
Boom centre David Wood sent shockwaves through the Dogs' defence whenever he touched the ball, putting big Englishman Vince Fawcett in for his first try for his new club.
Outside him is Fawcett. Fawcett's on his way, and the Englishman scores.
The Dogs were clearly affected by the turmoil of this week, and the Eels capitalised. Once again, it was Fawcett who found leaks in the Dogs' defence.
Here's this big centre again. Fawcett striding down over the 10-metre line. He's in again.
The Englishman was bound originally for Wyong on the Central Coast, but instead was helping the Eels to a stunning 16-0 half-time lead. Parramatta beaten 56-6 last week. It was some revival. But when the Dogs crossed for 2 tries in 5 minutes, the blue and white comeback looked on.
Then Pickering, here they go for the corner. Rowan gets it away, Halligan puts it over the line. And it is put down by Weston, picked up by Timu. They'll convert this, they'll convert it into points because Jason Williams loves scoring tries.
That made it 16-10, but man of the match David Woods once again showed his special skills, setting up the clincher.
He fends away from another, gives it back, and Howlett, he'll score!
Darren Britt made the scoreline respectable, but Parramatta completed one of the upsets of the season, beating a clearly troubled Bulldog team 22-16.
When Peter Driscoll was sent off for a dangerous tackle. South rely heavily on Craig Field, and as usual, his game was stamped with authority.
Lovely crisp pass from Field.
While West accepted a gift,
All sorts of trouble, and Ken McGuinness will score for West.
Field ran the first half show, directing his team to a 14-12 lead at the break.
Quadrant's run away from his wing, but he's going to score the try.
But But with a change of direction, a change of fortune. The Magpies produced a more familiar brand of football with 3 tries in 8 minutes.
Going to score, Mark Horrow.
When Peter Driscoll was sent off for a spear tackle, the Rabbits' chances were all but gone. Andrew Leeds finished with 2 tries and 5 goals in West's 14-point win.
And they've got the try.
And in 8 tries to 5, Danny Peacock grabbing a hat-trick to run out winners 24 points ahead.
A high-scoring afternoon at Penrith Stadium. Man of the match, Jody Gall, collecting 2 tries. The defence from the Gold Coast was a little suspect, but at the other end of the field they showed flashes of brilliance. Danny Peacock led the way with 3 tries, this for his hat-trick.
We'll have a 3rd try, Danny Peacock. This is superb play.
Ryan Girdler crossed in the dying moments, converting his own try to notch 24 points for the match.
To Beckett, Beckett then for Girdler. Girdler shoulders away from one.
And the New South Wales side is on its way to Melbourne for State of Origin 2 on Wednesday night. New faces Dean Pay and John Hopewati linked up with the side for a solid hit-out this morning. Nick McArdle, 7 Nightly News.
State of Origin Rugby League, Queensland has defied the odds to beat New South Wales in this year's series. Few expected them to win, but Queensland wrapped it up 20 points to 12 in a game marked by a wild brawl.
Almost 53,000 fans poured into the MCG last night, and at the end of 80 minutes of festivities, fights and football, the game had many converts.
A magnificent game. I wish I knew a bit more about the rules.
It'll bring the actual State of Origin again back to this state.
What won them over was an Origin battle up there with the most intense of all.
We'll have plenty involved in just a moment.
In the opening minutes, club loyalties were wrapped in fists and shoved down teammates' throats. Manly's John Hopewati and Danny Moore looked arch enemies, but on Sunday, they're back at Brookvale to take on Brisbane.
He was on the wrong side at the wrong time, that's all.
Simple as that.
That's it.
Well, we knew they were going to put that on and we accommodated them. We won the fight, we won the game.
From there, Queensland settled better and opened the scoring with a controversial try to Mark Coyne.
Get a try out of it, will they? Yes, they will.
What looked like a knock-on was missed by the ref, and from then on, the Blues were always playing catch-up football. The result was in doubt until the death, but Lady Luck was definitely wearing a maroon jumper. Twice New South Wales crossed in the last 5 minutes, only to be cruelly denied.
As far as the series is concerned, it's all over. But, you know, you remain undefeated in your mind.
Once again, Queensland went into the match at long odds, devoid of superstars, but now a team of them in their own right.
Fair dinkum. I've never been prouder in all my life of anything.
Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
In rugby league, worrying injuries to star players Bradley Clyde and Ruben Wiki have taken the gloss off Canberra's comfortable 18 points to 6 win over Illawarra at Steelers Stadium tonight. Clyde has medial knee ligament damage and Wiki a possible broken arm.
The fire and brimstone from the midweek State of Origin carried over, with the game having a lively beginning.
Now they go in. They come in from all over the park. The red and the green come together.
Conditions were slippery following rain before the match, but it didn't deter the Raiders, who were in to score from a clever set play after 20 minutes.
Like a machine, and Nagels gets it over the line.
The Premiers made it 8-2 at the break with a simple try. But the injury in this tackle to one of the game's hottest properties was cause for concern for the Raiders. The champion lock Bradley Clyde suffered medial knee ligament damage and took no further part. Playing well in patches, the Raiders went into a comfort zone after an hour's play with a second try to Ken Nagus.
He does well. Nagus support.
2 minutes later, it was all over for the Steelers, John Lomax scoring through pathetic defence. But look what happened with Daly's conversion attempt of the try.
Here's the kick. Oh, well, it's a goal.
Certainly looked a goal, didn't it? Canberra coach Tim Sheens thought so. Illawarra scored their only try with just 8 minutes remaining.
Unloads the ball, they're going to score. They're in.
Ill feeling again ran high.
Too much in a load. DeVico does land a couple.
What about those?
Yeah.
Canberra won the match 18-6, but for those who took the Raiders 1-12 on Footy Tab, the Laurie Daly no goal is certainly a bonus.
More league shortly.
Been a problem at the football stadium. St George dismissed that theory after only 7 minutes.
And over goes Gordon Tallis.
The Roosters retaliated with 2 penalty goals, a field goal and a try to winger Peter Clark.
For the line, Eddie Wards there, checks, and he wants gets the try.
Despite limited possession, Anthony Mundine crossed the Dragons' trail by 1 at the break.
Oh, brilliant stepping, Anthony Mundine.
In a brutal affair, 3 players were taken from the field concussed. The Dragons scored for a lead of just 2 with under 10 minutes to go.
He's there. Golf up over. The scores are level.
Phil Gould was feeling every tackle. Tony Iro was breaking them.
Can they hold out? Iro's over. Tony Iro comes.
Sydney City securing a last-minute victory on the bell, giving them, their coach and their supporters something to crow about.
The league's official head man was reaffirmed and renamed in concrete before kick-off, while the early exchanges would have rocked any new foundation. But John Hopawate caught the Broncos' defence out wide for a 4-0 start.
I think they're going to give a try.
And then it was League Wars round 2.
Well, it's almost become commonplace this week in rugby league.
While the Broncos were making mistakes all over the park, Manly's pressure finally came off, Kosef stretching the lead to 8, and then Ridge to 10. Andrew G tested referee Manson's patience. Brisbane were playing like weekend versions of Men in Blue jumpers, losing Willie Kahn for a sin bin 10. But just when the Broncos look broken, expect the unexpected for a Brisbane special.
Hancock, he scores right on half-time.
To cut Manly's half-time lead to 10-4. The Broncos lost another straight after the break, with Andrew G in the bin for a professional foul, and Ridge punished the Broncos at 12-4. Ridge stretched the spread to 10, 14-4. By now, all the Brisbane options were covered. Manly was searching for the knockout blow, and Ridge was the provider. Manly then confirmed their title favouritism with a Hill try after some great lead-up work.
What a sensational try!
Manly winning 23-4. At Marathon,
as the game of the season. You can see it right after the news. In other results to complete the split round 11, Auckland defeated the Tigers 36-12, Cronulla 20, too strong for the Crushers 4, and Newcastle walloped the Cowboys 44-14.
The Knights' last start produced their first loss of the season. Today, a return to that winning feeling with the Sunday afternoon romp at Marathon. The Cowboys couldn't rein in an out-of-control scoreboard that ticked at better than a point a minute for most of the first half.
Newcastle will score the try.
The Johns brothers instigated super attack, the Cowboys' lack of drive in defence a bonus.
Scoring the corner is
And while the visitors lifted in the second term, the Knights were comfortable 44-14 winners, scoring 8 tries to 2.
He's going to score.
The Crushers drew 22,000, but that was the only bright spot for the home side against Cronulla. Winger Richard Barnett got the Sharks going.
Right into the hands of Richard Barnett.
Matthew Rogers' boot ran hot, kicking 6 from 7.
They got the direction.
While Barnett didn't miss a trick or a teammate. Cronulla home 20-4.
Bell is the try scorer.
And Auckland was too strong for the Tigers at Ericsson Stadium. Sean Hoppy having a trademark game out on the wing.
Sean Hoppy all the way.
He scored 2 tries, as did debutant Dennis Betts, the Great Britain second rower man of the match in the 36-12 victory. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
Thumped by the North Sydney Bears 52-12 after a week of drama surrounding its coach's future.
Wednesday night.
The Reds learnt just before the game that captain Brad Mackay had been dumped for State of Origin 3 and were fired up. Peter Shields almost gave the home side the perfect start.
Now he's offside, says the referee.
But 14 minutes in, North Sydney began to run riot with 4 sensational tries, including this impressive team effort.
And Kalyawara has scored a monumental try.
A great solo performance by Mark Soden helped North to a 22-0 lead at the half. The Reds were left battle-scarred. Jeff Doyle and Sean Devine banished to the blood bin. But the home team came out fighting after the break with immediate results. And when Horan, Shields and Mackay combined, the fans could sense a comeback. But Greg Florimo thwarted the Reds' plan, scoring 2 of North Sydney's 5 second-half tries. And when Jason Taylor made his 8th conversion from 9 attempts, the visitors had buried the Reds 52-12.
Site stage day form reversal to beat the Sydney Roosters tonight at the Parramatta Stadium after losing to lowly Parramatta 2 weeks ago. And without 5 key players, the Dogs too good for the Roosters 22-14.
The quiet achievers of 95 so far, the Sydney City Roosters, made a bright start. Nigel Gaffey doing the lead-up after just 8 minutes.
Over the 20-metre line and Walker will score.
The Dogs replied 5 minutes later through some quick thinking and the sheer power of prop James Pickering.
Centre of the ground, 12 metres out. Pickering, oh!
John Timu's part-time boot kicked the Dogs to a 10-6 lead before the former rugby All Black scored one of the season's best solo tries.
Beats another, he'll score! Oh, that is magic!
Timu's boot was proving a bonus, and the Dogs, after a slow start, were comfortable 16-6 leaders at half-time. Good finishes of late, the Roosters appeared to have come back into the match through quick-thinking replacement hooker Robert Mears.
I'll tell you what, it's a try, all right.
It is for sure.
But referee Mick Lewis denied the try. 3 minutes later, however, English import Phil Clark put the Roosters right back in with a chance.
It's a try for Phil Clark.
Andrew Walker's brilliant conversion made it 18-14.
Looks okay, straight between the uprights.
Then right on full time, the depleted Dogs, missing 5 regulars on Kiwi Test and State of Origin duty, scored a controversial match-sealing try.
For Davies, Junie disputes it, but Lewis gives the try.
Despite the 2 controversial incidents, the Bulldogs deserved their vital 22-14 win.
Cronulla has struggled at home before this match, winning just 1 of 5, and the Cowboys threaten to continue the hoodoo with an early barrage.
He's caught it. Justin Lumens comes around and scores the first points of the match.
But after the early intensity, North Queensland started to drop off tackles, allowing the Sharks to build momentum.
Close, he's over.
Out wide, Cronulla strolled through the Cowboys' defence, Andrew Eddinghausen in brilliant form. The win keeps the Sharks well in range for a final 8 spot. In the end, 6 tries for a 34-10 victory.
Untouched, Jeff.
On Eels, Keith Blackett was sent off for a high tackle. In today's other match, West fought off a brave Gold Coast.
A last-stop victory against Canterbury gave Parramatta fans some hope against Hotshots Canberra. That slim chance was all but destroyed in the opening 20 minutes. Parra did score just before the break to narrow the gap to 8, but Eels supporters may as well have packed away their flags. To compound the problem, 5'8" Keith Blackett will face the judiciary during the week after being sent off for a high tackle. The second half was all Canberra. Despite missing a couple of their internationals, the reigning premiers were unstoppable. Ken Nagus and David Boyle each scored a pair as the Raiders ran in 10 tries to 2, walloping the hapless Eels 50 points to 12. Up north, Wests were looking for their third on the trot. They started on the right note. 2 tries to Ken McGuinness gave them a handy 12-point lead. The Coast scored twice in the space of just 3 minutes before the break to get within 4.
And scores. Jamie Goddard.
The Gulls pressured the Maggies all the way, but some more McGuinness magic early in the second laid a solid foundation for their 26-16 win. Andy Raymond, 7 Nightly News.
Whitewash of New South Wales. The Maroons won a great game of rugby league, 24 points to 16, and should now dominate the Australian team to be named next week.
After another painful State of Origin lesson, the Blues just wanted to get home today. Last night's finish to the series again left some wanting answers and others explanations. Hearn's headbutt on Carroll, just one that puzzled the camp.
Our first reaction is to throw a punch and I'll get the penalty against me, but like I said, the game's over now. It's up to the judiciary.
Like Origins 1 and 2, number 3 was another thriller that kept more than 40,000 fans guessing until near the end. New South Wales appeared set to carry a 4-point lead into the break, but in a match where reactions and responses slugged it out, Queensland landed one on the chin, right on the bell.
He's in!
Before the second half had time to settle, New South Wales was back in front, and from there the advantage continued to sway. As the game took its last breaths, teenage hero Ben Aiken looked a veteran, with his try sealing another Origin upset.
How hard is it, this moment right now, just standing here while all this is happening? Well, you hear a big cheer going up for Queenslanders.
There were many inspirational moments in this series, but none more than Trevor Gilmeister climbing out of a hospital bed to captain the Maroons last night. Today, his poison leg had him back on a drip.
So I had to come back here after the game, and that's what the doctor said to me, so I got no qualms about that.
The death of State of Origin domination was clinical for the Blues. Underdogs throughout, the Maroons rose to unconquered heights, and the Test selectors will now decide how big their reward. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
The AFL is offering a...
Matthew Ridge lucky to escape the sin bin after looking for elbow room on the head of French skipper Patrick Ontain.
There we see Reggie getting up. No need for that from Matthew.
Minutes later, Brendan Tutor was off as the tension boiled over. And the French were quick to capitalise on Kiwi confusion.
Brian Coles, the first time he started in a test match for France.
It was soon to get even worse. The partisan crowd stunned as the French moved on to an 8-0 lead. The tide looked to have turned Pusadiru, a hooker showing the backs how it should be done. And then Gary Freeman stamped his mark on his farewell, first freeing Ridge, and then Jared McCracken to make it 16-8 at the interval.
Beautiful ball, McCracken! Nobody in front of him. What a pass from Freeman!
But in the second half, it all turned sour. First, Freeman was sin-binned, and then, in the most dubious of many doubtful decisions, the French referee awarded a penalty try from a late Matthew Ridge tackle.
It's going to be a penalty try. Well, this is a real sensation here in Palmerston North.
Freeman still looked to be heading for a dream finale, only to be called back for a forward pass. There was no doubt, though, about the illegality of Steve Kearney's tackle, which gave away the equalising penalty. But not all the Kiwi optimism was lost for the Aussie series next week.
The fans away in Adelaide, but it didn't stop St George from making a bright start.
And Coyne finds himself in space, stretches out, puts on a dummy, takes the tackle, feeds it back.
It wasn't long, though, before Newcastle took the upper hand, exploiting some very ordinary defence.
Ross goes up the centre. Can he get it down? He's over the line, and it's a try.
With Andrew Johns leading the way, the Knights missed a chance just a short time later.
Gets it inside. Is there a try? No. They put it down.
The first 20 minutes was all one-way traffic, but the scoreboard didn't reflect the state of play.
Peden! He finds Johns in support. Ball went forward from Peden to Johns.
Finally, Chris Quinn pointed the Dragons in the right direction.
Oh! It's gone around. He's on his way. He'll score. Well, he's done it all himself.
Although St George had made 4 previous appearances at the Adelaide Oval, you would never have guessed.
They kicked for the line and they failed to find it again. Well, that's really unforgivable. 3 times they failed to find it.
7 minutes from half-time, Mundine and Walford caught the Knights napping. In a remarkable turnaround, the Dragons led 8-6 at the break.
He's going to give it!
English import Chris Joynt has just arrived at Newcastle, and he couldn't have made a better start.
Joynt, he's over the line. Can he get it down? Did he get it down? Yes!
The high ball is always a dangerous weapon in the wet, and it brought the Knights undone 25 minutes into the second half.
Oh, quick work by Mark Bell. That has put St George on the attack. Tony Herman will be penalised. Sin bin.
Mark Coyne took the quick tap, and it proved the right decision.
He's gone straight through. Mark Coyne, the captain.
Goldthorpe broke the 12-all deadlock just a few minutes later.
Goes for the drop goal, and he's got it. He's kicked it.
But the Knights piled on 12 points in the last 8 minutes, beginning with Ashley Gordon.
Gordon! He gets over.
Andrew Johns added the extra points, putting the Knights in front by 5. Robbie McCormack scored a smart try right on full time, leaving the final score at 24 points to 13 in Newcastle's favour.
As they almost reach the final siren.
In Perth, the locals built an 8-0 lead after 25 minutes.
His 8th try of the year.
South struck back through the combination of Field and Trindle. At the break, the Reds led 8-6. Rodney Howe put the Reds further in front early in the second half. The Rabbitohs were back in business when Mark McGaw crossed out wide, but the Reds posted another try, which eventually proved the difference.
Sends it away to Horan. The ball going across the line. Last tackle, says the referee. There's a chance here. It quickly comes away to Chris Ryan. Chris Ryan has got them. Ryan's away. Jack Davies in there for the post.
Final score, Western Reds 18, South 14.
over the Crushers at Parramatta Stadium. With both sides struggling to stay in touch with the top 8, the Tigers got home 16 points to 12.
The first half was a contest of who could make the most errors. Both sides had their chances, but every time something was on, it never came off.
McVie does the same for the Tigers.
But right on the break, Kemp and Krause combined and the crowd finally had something to cheer about.
He's got it back, David Krause.
It was a better effort in the second half. Forsenall's solo performance stretched the score to 12-2. But then the Tigers finally found some fuel in the tank.
Tim Brasher tears straight through.
3 tries in 10 minutes saw them roar to the lead, but the Crushers didn't collapse. What had been a dreary start went to the wire. The Tigers hanging on for a 16-12 win.
So Gary Jack makes the tackle.
Last night in Adelaide, Newcastle.
Round 12 was wrapped up today with the big match Manly and Norths right after the news. There were boilovers in the other games. Penrith defeated Auckland 34-16, while Illawarra knocked over Brisbane 34-18.
The Broncos have big paychecks and big reputations, but Julian O'Neill offered the only big match performance in front of 31,000.
Scores in the corner.
Brisbane led 12-2 at half-time, but it didn't convince Illawarra. The Steelers blasted out a superb second half, scoring only slightly less than a point a minute.
He stretches out and scores.
The visitors scored 6 tries to 3. Likely Test winger Rod Wishart pocketed 14 points in the 34-18 victory.
And Rod Wishart scores the 4-pointer.
Auckland and Penrith got to know each other early.
There has been a lot of violence creeping into football.
Then started to play football, and the thorn in the Warriors' side was the Penrith Kiwi, Gary Freeman.
And steals one.
The Wiz scored 2 tries in the Panthers' upset 34-16 victory. The result rubbed in all the way. Our ladder has Manly and North still to play for their points. Newcastle and Canberra have opened up a 4-point gap to Brisbane. Then comes Cronulla and Western Suburbs. Roosters have officially called for the club to merge with St George on a day of high drama at the football stadium. On the field, Canberra squeezed out the Roosters by 1 point. Both sides scored 3 tries. Ricky Stewart's field goal, the difference. It was a rare symbol of passion in league's troubled times, but that rooster was silenced only minutes in. Steve Walters' guile and Noah Nadruku's power, a recipe for points.
Nadruku's over in the corner.
That success didn't rub off though. The Raiders went to sleep midway through the first half before Ken Nagas shook his teammates from their slumber.
Scores from the other side of halfway.
Retribution was swift from the Roosters. Andrew Walker had Peter Jorgensen diving for points.
That's a try.
Canberra hit the second half with a 12-4 lead, but against a side hell-bent on catching up. A penalty and Adrian Lamb's unconverted try closed the Roosters to within 2 points.
Football down the right-hand side.
The Raiders responded to the pressure through Luke DeVico. Ricky Stewart made it a 7-point margin.
And it's through, I think.
But the Roosters weren't finished. Super hands and shoddy defence made it 17-16 to Canberra with 3 minutes to go. Andrew Walker just missed landing a draw right on full time.
Misses!
They might lack the test match experience, but the new breed of kangaroos last night proved they've got what it takes with a comprehensive victory over New Zealand. Brett Dallas led the charge, scoring 2 tries in Australia's 26-8 first test win.
The Kiwis lost John Lomax early, a knee injury likely to rule the captain out of the rest of the series. The visitors' defence cracked when Dallas swooped on a Fittler bomb.
And Brett Dallas comes down with it, and Brett Dallas will go on and score.
2 minutes later, another kick by the skipper yielded the same result for the red-headed flyer.
He's going to get his second try.
The Kangaroos were up 14-0 in as many minutes, but the Kiwis hit back.
Turney! Stephen Turney is over!
Ferocious hit-ups and defence took their toll on Mark Carroll. The prop's third trip to the blood bin brought the biggest cheer of the night for veteran new cap Trevor Gilmeister.
The axe, here he comes.
Smart lead-up by Tim Brasher allowed Terry Hill to score in his test debut. Australia's lead 20-6 at the break. 10 minutes to go and still trailing by 2 converted tries, New Zealand almost hit the self-destruct button. Right on full time, Tuvey and Fittler combined for Adam Muir, the Aussies home 26-8. Man of the match, Mark Carroll, savoured the moment with his father.
Yeah, the play for Australia is the ultimate. It is this at the ultimate, mate. I can't wait to get this jersey back home and encased, I'll tell you now.
Chris Bombolas, National 9 News.
James Pickering was an early stretcher case from Marathon Stadium, and John Timu could have been at Ellis Park. The Knights are playing with confidence and passion. The last pass suspect, the result not in doubt.
Was it a forward pass? He's over.
Canterbury were unlucky not to have equalised with a Gillies try. The pass ruled deliberately forward.
Get to the way, and it's a forward pass.
Newcastle's Matthew John set up a 14-0 lead, brushing off Lamb and then finding plenty of supporters willing to carry on the work.
They got their hands up all over the park.
The old entertainers were left watching a Knights centre stage performance, and Nathan Barnes finished off the quick hands close to the posts.
Tap the head, he's over.
Newcastle's second half kicking game was still on song. Nathan Barnes had little room to move, it didn't matter.
Barnes is in.
Matthew Johns finished off a command performance with a solo try, the Knights winning 42-0.
The Crushers too good for Penrith 28-8 and Manly 44 rolled the Reds 24.
Back from suspension, Big Mark Geyer got the Reds rolling when he put Mackay over for the first try of the match.
Mackay will score!
After 3 consecutive sets of 6, Manly hit back through Kossev, and the signs were there for a high-scoring match. The Sea Eagles went to the break leading 20-12, and while Geyer couldn't quite get in the swing, Manly kicked into gear.
Lyons throws the dummy, he slipped the pass to Menzies.
The Sea Eagles always seemed to control, and they charged home for their 13th consecutive win of the season. At Steelers Stadium, Norths bounced back against Illawarra. The Bears were ahead 16-0 early in the second half and hung on for their 6th win of the year. The final score, 16-6. At the football stadium, the Gold Coast recorded its second win in Sydney in 3 years, downing Souths in a sometimes spiteful match. The Seagulls led 12-2 at the break and kept Souths tryless for a 22-2 victory. And at Parramatta Stadium, a points blitzkrieg rarely seen. Down 14-6 at half-time, Brisbane roared back to score 54 points to nil in the last 40 minutes. In one 19-minute period, the Broncos crossed 8 times, and when the dust had settled, the final scoreline was 60-14. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
It was only in the dying minutes that Auckland managed to break a 12-all deadlock with West at Campbelltown to return home tonight with the points. The Magpie brief was 4 wins from as many starts. Auckland felt the full force of West desire 6 minutes in.
They do!
A confident start was ruined by poor defence. Sidiru made the break and Stacey Jones the try.
It's under the post.
Another one made it 12-4 before Paul Langmack locked it up at 12-all at half-time. That's the way it stayed until the dying stages. Auckland home 16-12.
That's it!
At Suncorp Stadium, the Crushers have galloped all over Penrith. After leading 14-4 at the break, they really got going in the second half, with centre David Krause scoring 2 tries.
Behind the post, he won't bother.
It's the Crushers' 4th win of the year, the final score 28-8.
This guy has made his...
Last night, Gordon Tallis was in the pilot seat for St George. He set up 2 tries and scored 1 in the Dragons' 20-10 victory over Cronulla. The Sharks played most of the match without Les Davidson, who was sent off for this off-the-ball incident with Jason Stevens. And in Townsville, North Queensland blew a 10-point lead. The Tigers home 28-14.
That's the ball game.
Our ladder has Newcastle and the Bulldogs playing for their points after the news. Manly remains undefeated after 13 rounds. The challenge from teams just outside the top 8 remains very strong.
Tonight, the Raiders red hot. Chile Bruce Stadium in the nation's capital. Canberra moved into outright second place with a 39-4 victory over the Knights.
The mercury at Bruce Stadium plummeted to a chilly 3 degrees for the top-of-the-table clash between the Knights and the Raiders. 2 penalty goals separated the 2 sides in the opening exchanges, both going to the Raiders' David Furner. Tough tackling by the Raiders was halting the Knights in their tracks and giving Canberra plenty of attacking opportunities. Another penalty goal took Canberra out to a 6-0 lead before Laurie Daly made the most of a mismatch with Paul Harrigan in the back line.
Oh, Daly! He's through! Here's the winger in support! Now Mullins is away! Look at him go! Crowd-pleasing Australian fullback Mullins!
A field goal made it 13-0, presenting Newcastle with the biggest task they'd faced in season 95. The Raiders buried them even further right on half-time when they simply used the numbers.
On the corner, Croker comes in, plants the ball down, and Canberra, they go in for another try.
At 19-0, the task was hard enough. 9 minutes into the second half, it became near impossible.
Davies in again.
Newcastle needed luck. They got some when Nathan Barnes got a chance bounce.
Go for the intercept. That creates the opening. Barnes it is, Nathan Barnes.
The fight back was short-lived, with David Wesley grabbing his third career try with the Raiders. And it wasn't over for the hapless Knights. 2 more tries gave the Raiders outright second, and Newcastle the big chill, 39-4.
The ball down, and Croker scores an amazing try.
In to 12 victory, Manly lost centre Terry Hill, sent off on a headbutting charge.
After 25 minutes of bumbling football, Manly burst into gear with a vengeance. 2 tries in 2 minutes suddenly gave Sea Eagle supporters something to crow about. And when Menzies scored again just before half-time, Manly looked set for another big win.
They won't catch him. Stephen Menzies, second try.
But it was Illawarra that fired after the break. Pinchinelli had 2 goes at it before he got it right. And again, the Steelers' second rower was in the thick of it for Ayres' 4-pointer.
Brings it around.
Down 18-12, Illawarra threw everything at the opposition, and for Terry Hill it was all too much. He was sent off on a headbutting charge, and now has an anxious wait before next week's second test against New Zealand. Despite being down a man, Manly hung on for a 6-point win.
Ball over the top, Lyons knocks on.
In Canberra,
enjoyed early field position. Aaron Raper going close after some good work down the short side. The Dogs weathered the storm, and Craig Pollamouta started and finished the first try-scoring move. Now finding their attacking rhythm, Rod Silver finished off some slick ball work. Simon Gillies was providing the punch up the middle, and like a good finishing winger, Williams did the rest. It wasn't the Sydney Bulldogs, but the Canterbury of old. Terry Lamb, early in the second half, produced a chapter from his past.
Terry Lamb throws. Dummy after dummy, and then sprints away. Go, little fella. He's in.
Cronulla needed to come up with some points, and Paul Green kicked into space, and Mitch Healy found no dogs at home.
Gets it down.
With time on their side, Matt Rogers ran an angle on a Paul Green pass to bring the Sharks within a converted try.
There's a try for Matt Rogers.
Halligan gave Canterbury some breathing space with a penalty, and John Timu iced the game with a good break from Ryan. The Bulldogs winning 26-12.
Sets his compass and puts it down.
At Cogra Open.
The day is between the Bulldogs and Cronulla right after the news. In other results, North 36 thumped Parramatta 4, St George defeated the Tigers 34-6, and Brisbane 36, too good for the Roosters, 20.
More than 30,000 fans watched Brisbane get into plenty of early trouble. The Roosters had them rattled. It went to an unexpected half-time lead of 14-12.
Lamb has Hancock on his outside, and Lamb goes over.
But like they did against Parramatta last week, the Broncos came storming home. And from the 67th minute, the Roosters were finished.
Cut away from Journey.
The tiring defence was Brisbane's green light, and they ended the match 16 points ahead.
Gets it to Lamb.
At North Sydney Oval, the Bear did plenty of dancing as Billy Moore reminded test selectors of his own talents. Moore was a standout with the home side going to the break, leading 18-0. The Eels hit back with a much more committed second-half performance. Captain Paul Dunn was in everything, but it was all too late. Norths finished with plenty of petrol in the tank and were easy 36-4 winners. It was a rugged afternoon at Cogra, with little between the Saints and the Tigers in the first 40 minutes. Only 6 points separated the sides at the break, but it was the Dragons who went on with it, scoring 5 tries to 1. Bartram and Tallis were the star players in Saints' 34-6 victory. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
A bumper Saturday night of league with 4 matches. Penrith led the charge, scoring a 40-10 victory over the hapless Cowboys. On an icy night, the Panthers boiled. Gary Freeman and Brad Fittler ran the show, while Matt Singh patrolled the wing. Singh crossed twice in Penrith's 8-try romp, the 30-point margin one of the Panthers' best this year, while the Cowboys are still having the roughest ride in the premiership. Across town, Glen Greep was the power pack behind Western Suburbs' 38-14 victory over the Crushers. But it wasn't just brute force. The Magpies showed plenty of class in their 7-try haul. Some luck went South Sydney's way last night against Auckland.
Off the post!
Then it ran out. The Rabbitohs blew a 2-point lead with 12 minutes to go as the Warriors and Frano Botica hit top gear, sprinting to a 38-20 victory.
Rapani was there. Davies! Botica will go all the way! Sensational!
And the Western Reds have won their first game away from home in 3 months, scoring a hard-fought 28-20 win over the Gold Coast. Our ladder has the Bulldogs and Cronulla playing for their points after the news. Manly remain on top and undefeated, while the Magpies have moved to outright 5th position. And the score
beating the Super League-filled New Zealand side in the second test. Now the Kangaroos wrapped up the series 2-0 with a 20-10 victory before what was a disappointing crowd at the Sydney Football Stadium.
The 74th test match between Australia and the Kiwis. Brad Fittler, the youngest captain since Reg Gasnier, hoping under his leadership for 51 wins for the Kangaroos. New Zealand looking to the Haka for inspiration to keep the series alive. Just 3 minutes into the game, the boot of Rod Wishart put Australia in front.
Yes, he's got it there.
And Wishart's hands were working just as well as his feet.
He puts it in the air, and then Wishart was there.
Wishart goal again, much to the delight of the crowd, for a 4-0 lead.
Beautiful kick.
Fullback Matthew Ridge on target, pulls one back for the Kiwis.
Coming around.
A lucky deflection off the boot of Brad Fittler, and New Zealand are over for the first 4-pointer.
And scoring the try is Hoppy.
Ridge converts, and the Kiwis hit the front 8-4. New Zealand went further ahead with another penalty goal before a trip to the blood bin by prop Mark Carroll gave Paul Harrigan a return to the test arena.
Gets his first touch of the ball.
A probing Brad Fittler regathered his own kick to level the scores for Australia.
This is off a Kiwi. They're going to score.
With the scores locked at 10-all, an injury to a spectator saw the teams go off to half-time with 2 minutes left on the clock. After the break, an indiscretion by Tony Iro cost him 10 minutes in the sin bin and his side the lead. Fittler then put Australia 3 in front from 40 metres out.
It's a big kick. Oh, it's a towering kick, and I think he's got it.
Not to be outdone, Greg Florimo made it a 4-point lead.
And he gets it as well.
40 seconds from full time, the best player on the field, Brad Fittler, angled a kick back, and Steve Menzies was there to swoop on it.
Menzies! He scores for Australia.
Full-time score 20-10 to Australia. The Kiwis have not won a test in Sydney since 1959 or a series in Australia after 1953.
You know, fellas took what they gave and sort of come back with a bit of our own.
I think the difference between the two teams was the kicking game of Fittler. I thought it was just about the perfect kicking game, and he just kept turning us around, and we just had to defend set after set. I thought that was the difference between the two sides.
They had nothing to lose, mate. No, yeah, we know we're in for a big fight, and we're up 2-0 in the series, and we're so determined to take this out 3-0. Now, great effort by the New Zealanders, but a great game by the Australians.
Australia now go into the third test and the World Cup as favourites.
It's a great unit.
The Sharks were tough enough to hold out some early Canberra probes. Then dish a little dazzle of their own thanks to some determined running from Aaron Raper, finished by Dave Borton. The Sharks' defence chopped off Canberra's big-name backs, so Stewart went to the air and Clyde gave chase. 6-all. But after that, the Raiders looked like they wanted to be anywhere but Caltex Field, giving up a brace of penalties and executing poorly. Ken Nagus would rue this miscued shoulder charge as Paul Donaghy just kept going. Steve Walters was sin-binned as Canberra's frustrations grew. Cronulla capped a fine half by scoring again and then punished more soft defence with tries to Donaghy again and this one to Raper. 26-6 and the trend continued. Nathan Long ended the match with try number 7. A tougher job for the Bulldogs at Parramatta Stadium, home for their opponents as well. Tries to Jason Smith and Jared McCracken made it 12-0. Earlier today, Norths led the Roosters 28-10 before one of the most stunning comebacks of the year. Sydney City crossed the line 3 times in the last 15 minutes, failing by just a couple of conversions to square the match. The Bears fell in 28-24. And they keep on coming. In Perth, the Western Reds playing Illawarra and leading with just a few minutes to go, 24-4. I think you can count that one for the Reds. Tanya Armstrong has an update.
Danger signs early for the Western Reds with Illawarra on the attack from the outset. The Steelers waited just 2 minutes before John Cross went to the line.
Johnny Cross will score.
Both sides had trouble early with a tricky whack of wind, but it was nothing compared to the difficulty the Reds were having opening their account. First Fuller was unsuccessful, and then a flu-ridden Brad Mackay wished he was back on his sickbed. But it was third time lucky for the Reds, Barry John Mather finally making the breakthrough. A second minutes later again to John Mather saw the floodgates open for the Reds, literally. In driving rain, they shot to an 18-4 lead, as Innes scored try number 3 and Chris Ryan did the rest. The Reds 14 points clear at half-time. The one-way traffic continued after the break, Ryan crossing for the Reds inside the 50th minute. It was a sight to behold for the skipper on the sidelines, a converted penalty soon after taking the score to 24-4 and a seemingly insurmountable 20-point lead.
Sydney Football Stadium.
Oh, he's got a torrid affair early, the battlefield claiming its share of victims.
Stewart and Wood.
Andrew Walker was given 10 minutes in the sin bin and North Sydney were the first to score. In fact, twice in the space of just 3 minutes. The Bears were then left with only 12 men. Their handy 14-point lead was narrowed minutes before the break, the Roosters too scoring a double in short time. When the Bears moved to a 28-10 lead early in the second half, the results seemed beyond doubt. That is, to everyone except the Roosters.
That is a superb North Sydney try.
In the fourth scoring wave of the match, the home side hit 3 times within 11 minutes. The difference was down to 4.
Thunders through, all the way. Scores. Got it over. Now, is there any double movement? No, there's not. It's a try.
Easts made a break with just seconds remaining. The movement then matched to the Bears.
It could be a
long show of support. 28,000 fans all waiting for moments like this.
Tracy, they've got numbers. They might need them.
6-0 Newcastle in a match full of feeling. Robbie O'Davis warned for this tackle, and minutes later,
Paul Harrigan and Andrew G are going like 2 heavyweights.
With Paul Harrigan and Andrew G cooling their fists in the sin bin, Steve Renoff warmed to his task.
Too big.
Individual flair at one end, teamwork at the other.
Rogan, he got it away, and Johns, he gets it down.
12-4, by half-time 12-10. Michael Hancock on the end of a slick Broncos backline.
Hancock, he scores!
With little between the sides, Ashley Gordon found just enough room for comfort. Sideline tiptoe, setting up an 18-10 lead.
And inside the pass for Tracy, he gets his second try!
Frustrations ruined the Broncos' chances, high shots brought penalties, and offered Newcastle heavy possession they didn't waste. 2 tries in the last 10 minutes, the final score 32-10.
24 defeated the Crushers 20. Penrith home against St George 32-24. Auckland 44 thrashed the Gold Coast 16. And Manly remains undefeated after its 28-6 victory over Parramatta.
On form, Parramatta should have been easy pickings for the Sea Eagles, and while Manly scored 5 tries to 1, the Eels made the front-runners work hard for their money. Daniel Gartner crossed twice, Manly undefeated after 15 rounds. At the foot of the mountains, Penrith showed plenty of class, guile and speed against St George, the Panthers home by 8 points. But the game produced 2 headaches for the Australian selectors, with Matt Singh and Wayne Bartram both injured. The test hooker has a suspected broken ankle. Graham Bradley was sent off right on full time for abusing the referee. The final 15 minutes at Suncorp decided the Crushers' South clash. The Rabbitohs hit the lead and stayed there to score only their 3rd win of the year.
And the Rabbitohs are in front, Oden towards the try.
And at Ericsson Stadium, Auckland maintained its push to the finals with a 44-16 victory over the Gold Coast. Centre Tia Rapati, the star of the show, with a hat-trick of tries.
Tia Rapati is going to get another one.
Peter Overton, National 9 News.
Gone, the Kiwis were desperate to avoid a clean sweep, and it showed. Australia was just as determined to silence the critics once and for all.
So the Australians leave the room and they're on their way now.
The Kangaroos were denied the perfect start, a fair try disallowed 5 minutes in.
Puts it on the left foot, rolls it in. Brasher's going to get it. Brasher's got it's offside. Penalty to New Zealand.
Well, this will be one we'll have to have a look at very closely. Offside? Well, Brasher's out wide. There's no way he was offside. No way in the world.
The referee made another mistake 8 minutes later.
Then, Florimo, he's into a big gap. Richard's with him. Florimo wisely doesn't go for the second movement.
This is Florimo. Had the unmarked Richard on the outside, who would have scored for certain. I think the momentum has taken Florimo onto the line. That's a try.
But the Kiwis had better luck. Gene Namu started the movement and also did the finishing.
Nothing short of Parabolas. Tartupo sends Gene Namu away. Namu's going to get run down, but he'll get it across. Namu gets it down.
It didn't look like being Australia's night when another try was disallowed.
Fiddler puts it back and they slam it down for a try. The Australian number 12, I believe. No, he's ruled it was forward or lost.
So another decision goes against the Australians. A nice little play around the dummy half area. Smith, does he force that football?
Menzies kept the Kiwis from going further in front.
Inside for Iro. On the outside is Halligan. Menzies is after him. A second rower runs the winger down.
After 34 minutes, the Kangaroos finally put some points on the board.
Fiddler, is it coming? Menzies! It's coming all right! Menzies! Now, can they disallow this?
Australia held a 10-6 lead at half-time after this effort from Robbie O'Davis.
Robbie O'Davis, he's away! The little bloke, he's in! Robbie O'Davis! Robbie O'Davis out of nothing, and it's a try. I'm watching Bob Fulton, he went up, and he said, oh, they can't deny this.
A couple of early penalty goals put the Kiwis back on level terms.
And the flags are up.
But the Kangaroos started a try-scoring blitz in the last 22 minutes. Fiddler and Menzies combining again.
Menzies is underneath it. Menzies! He slams it down. That is slam dunk.
The next try was more a case of good luck than good play.
Flick passes back. Larson had it, lost it. It's play on. It's a try. Scored by Paul Harrigan.
Like the second test, Fiddler had the ball on a string.
Fiddler again. Puts the kick in. It's on again. Ainscoe nails it. Jamie Ainscoe keeps up the Nova Castrian influence on this test.
This time a Fiddler pass did the damage.
Gone. Long ball. Fiddler cuts out. Then Florimo. Then Wishart. And Wishart gets his 112th test point. Well.
New Zealand's defence was in tatters and Danny Moore made them pay.
Johns then for Smith. It's play on. Ainscoe away for Danny Moore. Danny Moore goes inside the 20, gets away. He goes for the corner. He'll score. A try out of nothing.
Playing with confidence, the Australians were almost running at will, and David Gillespie's try in the dying minute was the final insult.
It's gone back to the halfway. It's with Johns again. Johns is able to basketball it down. Brasher comes back. Brasher, he's inside the 30. Big cement, go cement. You'll do it, old fella. And you did. Gillespie gets a try. Look at this. Look at the jubilation. That means so much to David Gillespie and Australia. And it's over. With Richard putting it over the black dot. Australia defeats New Zealand. They win the Trans-Tasman Cup. 7 series now for them as clean sweeps. 46-10.
I thought they were much better side in the first half. They were pretty unlucky, and although we missed those couple of tries, they were any sort of chances that we had. So, second half they played great. Towards the end, we just ran away with it.
I must congratulate the Australian side in the way they performed. They were written off before the Test series even started, and like the true champions they are, they did play very well.
Look, over the years, there's plenty of good judges who've said that, there's Australia can pick 2 or 3 sides and have basically the first two of equal ability, and that's a reasonably a fair assessment of the situation, and I think these guys proved it in this series, and particularly tonight where they've hammered in what I'd consider as probably the best Kiwi side for the last 25 years.
After Matthew John,
Warriors marched again from an era when football was a passion, not a business. Arthur Summons was still complaining 32 years on.
And I'm still whinging about the fact that they cheated, or the referee cheated. They didn't cheat, but the referee did.
Gordon Tallis soon let Wests know he was keen to repeat history.
And he's out of the tackle and he's over.
While the Magpies had their chances, Gordon Tallis was having one of those games.
Oh, that's a magic pass! Mark Bell, he'll score!
It was 22-0 before West bothered the scoreboard attendant, but St George had everything going their way.
He leads the race. Oh, it all happened so quickly.
St George and West commemorating the 1963 grand final at the SCG. In other results, the Bulldogs 20 defeated Penrith 14. Auckland too good for the Western Reds 34-10. Illawarra thrashed Parramatta 52-12. Canberra 28 beat the Tigers 10. Cronulla 36 upset Brisbane 22. And the boil over of the day, the Roosters ending Manly's unbeaten run 21-16.
Manly was hunting its 16th win on the trot, and when Hopewadi crossed in the 4th minute, the Roosters' chances looked remote. But from that point, it was the red, white and blue show, with 3 first-half tries and a lead of 19 points to 4 at the break. But like they've done many times this year, the Roosters could only watch as the advantage was whittled away. At one stage, coach Phil Gould was so angry at the referee, he threatened to take his team off the field. However, in a stunning upset, the visitors stayed on and hung on for a 5-point win. Penrith and the Bulldogs had a running battle all day, and quick hands saw Timu crash over for the first try that got a smart response from Penrith's Beckett. From there, Polomounta and Hetherington combined to give the Dogs a 6-point half-time buffer. It remained tight throughout, but both sides had their chances, and it was the Bulldogs who grabbed the points with a 20-14 victory. At Ericsson Stadium, the Reds opened the scoring against the Warriors, but that was their only moment of glory.
And there is the first try.
Auckland went on the warpath in the second half, but at a cost, with Frano Bodica stretched it off with a suspected broken ankle. In all, the Warriors crossed 6 times in the 34-10 win. And a Sunday afternoon stroll for Illawarra against Parramatta, the Steelers home 52-12. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Cronulla has now rolled Top Guns, Canberra and Brisbane in successive weeks. The Broncos outplay the Sharks at home this afternoon.
Cronulla stormed into ANZ Stadium and put the big-name Broncos under the hammer. A 4-try first half was the platform for the Sharks' victory. And leading the way with bucket loads of inspiration was captain Andrew Eddinghausen. Cronulla victorious 36-22. At Bruce Stadium, the Green Machine was at its entertaining best against the Tigers, the Raiders scoring 6 tries to 2. Michael Maguire crossed twice, the afternoon dominated by the class of Laurie Daly and Brad Clyde, Canberra home 28-10. Last night, the injury-ravaged South didn't bomb it against the Cowboys, the Rabbitohs winning their first home game of the season, and all from 10-0 down. Craig Field was at his typical best, his zig and zag deadly in the 30-16 victory. And at Tweed Heads, the Gold Coast led the Crushers, then spilled any hope of victory. David Krause sealed the 14-8 win. Our ladder has West and St George playing for their points right after the news. Manly remains on top. The gap to Newcastle and Canberra now just 2 points, while Auckland rounds out the top 8. Footy tab, the winners
bounced back from its first loss of the season last week to roll Newcastle. It was the Sea Eagles, very impressive by 34 points to 18 at Marathon Stadium, but plenty of controversy surrounds the win. Terry Hill sent off again amongst a number of incidents, while the Knights have lost key playmaker Andrew Johns with a broken collarbone.
The fireworks display before the match was an indication of what was to come. In just the second tackle of the game, adversaries Paul Harrigan and Mark Carroll clashed.
Carroll and Harrigan! It was predicted! And they came from everywhere!
Harrigan became the villain following words with referee David Manson and was sin bin. Meantime, Carroll was blood-bent. Luck's a fortune when it comes to kicking, and Manly captain Jeff Tuvey capitalised on a Cliff Lyons kick right back on the inside.
And that is a try!
Shannon Nevin, a late replacement for the injured Matthew Ridge, booted the Eagles to a 10-2 lead.
And this time the flags are up.
The Knights suffered a blow, losing skipper Paul Harrigan with a hip injury, but he returned after the break. The Sea Eagles went further ahead when they capitalised on a Tony Herman lapse out wide.
Now, Hill on for Hancock, and there's the try.
After 35 minutes and down 14-2, the Knights badly needed a lift, and they got it from Lady Luck via the upright.
Going to score! They do!
Andrew John's neat conversion made it 14-8 after the Nathan Barnes strike. But then the Sea Eagles, with just 2 minutes left on the clock before the break, scored a shock try. In a screwed scrum, captain Jeff Tuvey took off for the prize.
Tuvey! His second try!
The Sea Eagles were well in control, leading 20-8 at half-time. The try-scoring feast continued after the resumption. 4 minutes in, and Matthew Johns found space for Paul Marquette.
Marquette! He's over!
But Manly continued to be rewarded for their adventurous play, scoring yet again on the 5th tackle, started and finished by man of the match Cliff Lyons.
He'll get there, and he puts it down!
At 24-14, the record crowd was subdued, even more so when the Maestro Lions schemed a sensational try.
Nevin in from the back, and now Hopewate scores!
It was Cliffy Lyons' night, those ageing legs just lasting long enough to kick Manly well clear at 34-14.
He's away! Surely they can't catch him! Look at him go! Arms in the air!
Then came the sensational send-off of centre Terry Hill. In only his first game back from suspension, he was dismissed for this tackle on Tony Herman.
Oh, Herman! Taken out high by Terry Hill!
But the sensations didn't end there. Maybe further concern for Manly, key forward Nick Kosef is on report for this tackle, which left Newcastle's Andrew Johns with a fractured collarbone. For the Knights, it was too little too late when Brett Grogan scored right near full time.
Grogan gets it down!
And updating the rugby league match in Perth tonight, the Western Reds victorious. The Reds down the poor old Parramatta Eels by 24-14.
With the Western Reds going into the match as favourites, Parramatta had nothing to lose. Winger Odin Ryan first to open the Eels' account.
As the kick comes in from Lawler, Odin Ryan's there, Odin Ryan gets it, and Odin Ryan has scored!
But the remainder of the first half belonged to the Reds, with skipper Brad Mackay, as usual, setting the example. A Ryan conversion put the Reds 2 points clear, but there was more of the same to come. Ryan showed his prowess on foot to edge the Reds further in front before Horan made it a one-sided half-time scoreline, 14-4 in the home side's favour. With faint hopes of making the finals, the Reds were playing with confidence. Nothing could penetrate their defence, and no one could stop them from scoring.
Guy floats it over the top,
By midway through the second half, the Reds were 16 points clear. A contender for man of the match, Ryan was forced to the blood bin, but the Reds lost nothing in attack. International recruit Craig Innes crossing to put the match beyond doubt.
He passes, and it's a brilliant try to Innes.
Despite a season of ups and downs, the fledgling Western Reds, with their next 2 matches at home, keeping their finals chances well and truly alive.
Have bounced back to finals life, scoring a hard-fought victory over the Bulldogs at Campbelltown. The Magpies won 18-14, scoring 4 tries to 2.
It took 25 minutes for the tension to break, but when the Magpies got their hand right, the points followed. The Bulldogs then left a gaping wing, and Tony Wall accepted the invitation.
He's in!
The only downside, Andrew Leeds missed all 5 first-half kicks.
Oh, that's a shocker.
West extended the 8-2 lead with a super start to the second half. The ball and the play bursting with life.
It's Willis! Willis is over for West!
The Dogs then broke the leash and closed the gap. Tempers reached boiling point.
Stop though, that's dangerous. That is dangerous, and West have reacted.
But West had the final say, breaking a 14-all deadlock to land a very popular victory.
And Andrew Leeds has scored.
Last Billy Moore to a warm-up ankle sprain before a ball had been kicked. A glut of possession had Norths prowling wide and Fairley on the fly.
The Bears on the charge with Fairley. They're over for the first 4 points of the night.
Referee Eddie Ward was kept busy with high tackle warnings. Then Aaron Raper made every post a winner.
Raper, the little kick comes off the upright and scores.
At half-time, Cronulla ahead 8-4. The young Sharks hunted as a pack. Norths trapped deep in their own territory.
Fields it before the dead ball line. Plenty of chases. And what about that for a tackle from Paul Green?
Tries to Nicow, Rogers and Barnett put the Bears to sleep. And so too their now slim hopes for a place in the final 8. Captain Brad Fittler was absent from Penrith's lineup. The Raiders had Laurie Daly sidelined. Penrith held on early under sustained Raiders pressure before some Ricky Stewart needlework. Sensing a tiring defensive line, Canberra zeroed in on the posts. A sickening head clash had Panther Steve Carter seeing stars. Canberra far more focused on the try line. Despite being the well-beaten outfit, Penrith put on the game's best try.
Down the sideline, Panther Reggie kicks inside. Carter, he gets it down.
Premiership continues after the news with Penrith playing Canberra. In other results, Auckland defeated the Crushers 22-10. Brisbane 42 good for the Tigers 18. St George thrashed Souths 46-12. And Illawarra rolled the Roosters 28-6.
Last weekend, the Roosters upset the high-flying Sea Eagles, and on form, Illawarra was no Manly. That's where the home side misread the Steelers. Darren Juni's miss was the start of the Illawarra onslaught. Rod Wishart scored an intercept try, then stopped Nathan Blacklock dead in his tracks, which opened the gate for Dean Callaway and a 28-6, 5 tries to 1 victory. Nearly 30,000 saw Auckland's Sean Hoppy poach a Crushers pass and score the first of 2 intercept tries at Suncorp.
You never give him a sniff.
The Warriors had an explosive first half, going to the break with a 12-point buffer.
Beautifully set up.
But the Crushers stoked the fire in the second term and closed to within a converted try. Only to have game-breaker Phil Blake put the foot down to secure the Warriors' 22-10 victory. The Tigers' slim playoff hopes gained weight when Tim Brasher proved too quick for the Broncos' defence, and an upset appeared on the cards as the Tigers tied it up at 12-all. But the home side showed all their cards in the first half as the Tigers were bluffed into believing Steve Renouf was offside. Brasher's second solo effort, the only ace in the Tigers' pack, Brisbane winning by 22 points. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
At Cogra Oval, St George had too much class for Souths, the Dragons posting a 46-12 victory.
The Dragons were on fire from the kick-off, with Souths offering little opposition throughout the first half. In the opening 40 minutes, Saints ran riot and went to the break leading 28-4. South's woes continued. Anthony Mundine was the standout, finishing with 4 tries and a team total of 9. When the dust had settled, St George easy winners 46-12. Just in Townsville, David Baldwin dropped Jonathan Davies with an elbow. Craig Coleman then flattened the locals with a kick. The Gold Coast winning 10 points to 8. With Canberra and Penrith playing for their points after the news, Manly remains a clear leader in the premiership push. The top 8 now opening a gap on the rest of the field. In footy tab
has collected some big scalps over the last month and they wanted to add Manly to the list. But the signs didn't look good 8 minutes in.
Rogers comes across, he beats him. Now Danny Moore comes along, puts his hand up, but Hopewadi doesn't need him.
The strength of Hopewadi was causing the defence all sorts of problems.
Good quick thinking by Kosev, promoting Hopewadi, and now Danny Moore, Eddinghausen across.
A piece of ET magic put the Sharks back on track.
Feely is in pursuit, so is Eddinghausen. Here's a try for Rogers. It was battered down by Eddinghausen.
And look at that for a skill. Remember that, he'd been practicing that at training. That's a great skill.
A Danny Moore mistake gave Cronulla good field position and they made them pay.
Green on the run round. That's made the extra man. Samad in from the back. And Tuvey is there. Got the pass away. It's a try. Scored by Barnett, the winger.
Rogers' conversion put Cronulla up by 6.
Matt Rogers looks lovely. Beautiful kick.
Disaster struck for Manly just before half-time. Owen Cunningham sent off after this high shot on Nathan Long.
Oh, a high tackle on Nathan Long. So, trouble. It is Owen Cunningham, I believe. He's gone, and he's been sent off.
Clumsy tackle there by Owen Cunningham. Normally the safest of defenders. The arm right up around the head of Nathan Long.
Cronulla's swarming defence kept causing mistakes, and Manly was probably lucky to be only 10-4 down at half-time.
Back for Eddinghausen, now for Rogers. Rogers goes away from the sideline.
Playing in the centre, Steve Menzies had hardly been sighted until early in the second half.
Kosef unloading from Menzies. The first base that he's seen out in the centres. Good run, a good bumping run by Menzies.
6 minutes into the final term, the Sharks went further in front, although the try was hotly contested.
Healy! He's over, but is he held up? I think he's going to give it. He has. It's a try for Mitch Healy, and Ridge is blowing up.
Good search here by Healy. The in-goal judge is right in line. Looks like right there he got the football down.
Hasler almost had the reply just a few minutes later.
Beats one, runs away from Raper, goes for the line.
Manly had even more trouble when David Gillespie was carried off with a suspected broken jaw after this in-goal collision.
He's copped the, looks like the fist of Daniel Gardner.
Cronulla had another try-scoring chance, but this time the referee ruled Donaghy was held up over the line.
Donaghy, he's very strong, but he couldn't get it down.
Beat a couple of tackles.
Wow. Nice. Nick Kosef there trying to turn Donaghy on his back.
Playing with 12 men, the Sea Eagles hit back with 10 minutes left.
And here's a chance for Kosef. Kosef, he's over. Puts it down. Manly gets their second try.
Leading by 6, Mitch Healy put the game out of reach, leaving the final score at 17-10.
Here it goes. Healy gets the shot in. The arm will go up. It's a goal, and that's the ball game.
With just one try apiece in the second half, it was a gutsy effort by Manly, but the enthusiastic Sharks deserved the win, spearheaded by veteran prop Danny Lee.
Yeah, we hung in there, even though they had 12 men. I thought we come out at them straight away, and we held it pretty well most of the game.
It's been an unbelievable month for the Sharkies. Not off all the top sides, still can't sneak into that top 4 yet.
Yeah, but we're happy to be playing like we are, and we're looking forward to the next few weeks.
Newton games in round 18 of the Rugby League. This afternoon, Canberra strolled home against Wests, and in tonight's matches, Auckland 28-10 winners over the Cowboys. The Bulldogs, although a little stronger against Souths, 46-10.
A very ordinary Saturday night crowd watched Daryl Halligan open the scoring for the Bulldogs. For those brave Rabbitoh supporters who made the journey west, the writing was on the wall early. After 14 minutes, the Bulldogs led 18-0. Come half-time, they actually trailed the clock, 30-0. The Cobwebs cleared briefly in the second half when Danny O'Keefe put Souths on the board. But in the end, the game petered out to a training run for the Bulldogs, 8 tries to 2. By way of contrast, the North Queensland Cowboys proved as tough as old boots with the star-spangled Auckland Warriors outfit. They love their league in Townsville and love it when the home side scores.
Adrian Bowles for the first try. He gets it.
Auckland quickly answered the challenge, Kerwin finding a way through what had been brick-like defence. As the big men began to tire, Greg Alexander stepped up a gear to kick the Warriors clear.
The chip behind the defensive line.
Minus Ricky Stewart, the Canberra Raiders put Western Suburbs finals aspirations to the test. They were badly shaken in the blur of Ruben Wiki.
He's taken on Leeds and gone straight through him. He didn't use Bullabay. He should have, but he scored the try anyway.
In a season of high tackles, Magpie Mark Affleck made the referee's job very easy.
Oh, that is high. He's off.
Laurie Daly was enjoying his return from injury, serving up the goods for Croker.
Reed Daly with the kick. There's nobody home. Nobody home.
14-6 at the break, Tommy searching for miracles. If scoring tries was addictive, the green machine was well and truly hooked.
Werner up the centre. Flicks a lovely pass and it balance again.
The Raiders simply too good.
Hopes of making the top 8 would evaporate in the Brisbane Heat with a loss today. In the first 40 minutes, they played like a team on the edge.
There's a try coming. Gary Freeman. Freeman scores.
But like so many times before, Brisbane turned the match in the blinking of an eye, courtesy of Steve Renoff, before the second half was a minute old.
They put the Prince through the gap. There he goes. Look at him go!
Renouf had hardly caught breath and he was in again. Penrith's season now all but gone.
He's away again! Away from Edwards! Away from Beckett! Look at him go again!
St George 46 defeated the Gold Coast 16 and Illawarra upset Newcastle 28-6.
The first half was a case of poor ball control from an understrength Newcastle, while everything the Steelers touched turned to goal. Each time Illawarra chose to kick, the Knights got into trouble, and they went to the break trailing 14-0. Using a now familiar tactic, the Steelers were in again in the first minute of the second half, and from there the result was never in doubt. With 2 more late tries, Illawarra finished upset winners 28 points to 6.
That really does sum up the day.
At North Sydney Oval, the Bears bombed 6 tries, but scored half a dozen anyway against the Tigers. Sirenen was solid, but there was little support. Norths led 18-0 at the break and simply ran the Tigers ragged. The score 36-4, but the Bear wasn't happy with the ref denying his team's final charge. Parramatta looked on course for an upset against the Roosters, jumping to a 12-0 lead after 25 minutes. The Roosters hit back, and the match turned into a real arm wrestle. Only 2 points separated the sides till near the end, when Mackay secured a hard-fought 26-20 victory. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
St George has still a chance of sneaking into the finals after scoring a 30-point win over the Gold Coast at Cogra.
The big men of St George made a mockery of the brute force tag. A crisp unload by David Barnhill and final juggle by Jason Stevens kick-started the day. Stevens, Anthony Mundine and Graham Bradley each crossed twice. The Dragons up 30-4 at half-time. The Coast offered some resistance early in the second term, but St George was never going to let them get close. Penrith playing for their points after the news, but it's right at the top of the table where the big change is. Canberra has joined Manly as co-leader. The Magpies are hanging on to 8th spot, but feeling the pressure from 4 other teams. Footy Tab picked the winners.
Steve Renouf winning 28-18.
Earlier today, West coach Tom Radonicus was out spreading the Magpie message for the fans to be there tonight.
Get along to the game tonight, ladies and gents, get along to the game.
But Brisbane came to town to silence the locals.
Oh, sweet break for Lockyer. Lockyer's going for the corner. They won't get him.
Peter Ryan added another try for a 10-0 lead before Andrew Leeds put West on the board.
And here's Pearson giving it to Leeds, and Leeds is over.
That effort lifted the Magpies.
Hoppers put it down. Darren Willis puts it on the boat. Did he get it down? And I think no.
But Willie Kahn restored the 10-point margin by the break.
The kick is a beauty.
A bright start for West in the second half. With the conversion, they trailed 14-10. The tension led to a blow-up. There were more chances for the Magpies.
Pearson has pulled down a metre from the line.
But once again, Brisbane finished off.
And here's Renouf. He'll do it, Willie. Renouf gets it over the line.
Another converted try had West behind 22-18.
Jarvis comes back. Measure from dummy half.
But in the final minutes, it was Renouf again, and Brisbane were heading home with the points.
Renouf is off. Away goes Renouf, looking for his second try and finding it at the other end of the park.
It was crunch time for the Reds and the Roosters, both desperate to stay in contention for the top 8. The visitors first to make inroads with a penalty goal, backing that up with a real confidence booster.
After Mackay, and Mackay will score. It's a try.
And when Andrew Walker again kicked truly, the Roosters took an 8-0 lead. But the Reds, who lost Geyer and Howe through injury just before the match, would not be denied. The Roosters claimed a 6-point buffer though, with some brilliant work just before half-time. Sydney City poured on the pressure after the break and was soon rewarded. Hooker Sean Garlick slicing through some soft Reds defence.
Garlick will score the try.
Bloodied and battle-weary, the home side couldn't rise to the challenge. Another Roosters penalty and field goal eroding the Reds' resolve, and a Clark try sealing a well-deserved victory by the boys from the eastern suburbs.
Spins it out wide. Ball quickly comes away to Clark, and Peter Clark puts the final nail in the coffin.
The Reds edging closer to their curtain call for season 95, going down 25 points to 6.
He's in the hunt for a finals berth, but Penrith's season is over following a big win today by the Bears. North scored 4 tries to 1 in a 25 points to 6 victory.
Fighting for a spot in the finals, Norths made the trek to Penrith, but were soon on the back foot when Alexander, Girdler and then Petherbridge raced away.
And improves the position cheekily.
North sit back when Billy couldn't do any more with this pass to Fairley.
Ball looks for support, he gives it to Fairley.
The pain didn't stop there. Moore dislocated his finger, but Caruana had no handling problems as the Bears wound up for an important win.
Caruana sprinting for the line. Caruana's in.
In a tense second half, North secured 2 vital points when Cleary reached out.
Hard by Adamson.
And when Sears put Toole into the gap, the Panthers had been nailed. The final score, 25 to 6.
Toole, it's as simple as that.
Continued today, the Sharks sneaking away with a win against Illawarra. St George kept its hopes of a top 8 spot alive, thrashing Auckland. The other winners today, the Bulldogs, Canberra, Manly, Newcastle and South Queensland, while Cronulla came from behind to beat the Steelers.
Illawarra's season has been reduced to that of a team trying to spoil the final contenders party. Today, though, it looked as if the Super League Sharks would comfortably hold them off when they strolled in after 5 minutes. But midway through the first half, Craig Simon cut his way through some average defence to tie the game up 6-all.
Scored by the fullback.
Then Rod Wishart saved a try on his own line and won the foot race to Cronulla's.
He won't catch it. Wishart, he'll make it. Only just, but he makes it.
The teams changed ends with the Steelers ahead 10-8, but the mode of scoring remained remarkably similar.
The champion Cronulla centre, Eddinghausen.
ET's dash put the Sharks in front. Les Davidson's rampaging effort kept them there for good.
And here's Davidson. He's over.
With Cronulla playing Illawarra. In other results, Newcastle 19 defeated Parramatta 12. The Bulldogs too good for the Gold Coast 32 to 20. The Crushers 22 beat the Cowboys 6. Canberra thumped Souths 46 to 12. Manly 56, the Tigers 10. And in the upset of the day, St George rolled Auckland 47 to 14.
It's been a good week for the Dragons. The merger's off and the team is playing finals football. Gordon Tallis wore a face of thunder but had lightning-fast legs in his dominant display. St George scored 8 tries to 3 and nearly a point a minute in the second half to land a very impressive 47 to 14 win.
It's going to be zesty, he says thank you very much.
Just another typical cheeky afternoon for Cliff Lyons. He was in the pilot seat for the opening try, vacated it, then appeared from nowhere to make a safe touchdown against the Tigers. Manly led 20 to 6 at half-time before Steve Menzies exploded with 3 tries, taking his season tally to 17. Matthew Ridge banked 20 points of his own to wear the top point scorer's hat with 199 after 19 rounds. Final score, Manly 56, the Tigers 10. Canberra, Manly's stablemate at the top of the ladder, ran straight through Souths at the stadium. Brett Mullins, Jason Croker and Noah Nadruku each crossed twice. South's day was best summed up by the arrogance of Nadruku and the frustration of Craig Field. Canberra home 46 to 12. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
After 2 successive defeats, the Newcastle Knights today found some form with a hard-fought win over Parramatta.
The pre-game entertainment wasn't the only thing flying at Marathon Stadium. Woods, Butner and finally Odenryan grew wings for the first try of the match.
Parramatta, they're going to score.
Kim Morley squeezed the Knights back into it, and 8 minutes later, Newcastle looked sure to score again.
Careering towards the line, sensational tackle by Odenryan.
In an eventful first half, Ross was put on report,
See you later, Robbie.
and Newcastle went to the break leading 12 points to 6. It remained tight throughout. Newcastle scored early in the second half, but Parra hit back when Butner cashed in an intercept. The argument was finally settled when Matthew Johns made his point. Newcastle back on the winners list, 19-12. Gold Coast lost second rower Darren Wallens midway through the first half against the Bulldogs, and with only 12 men, they were never a chance. It wasn't the sort of performance that would have thrilled supporters. The Bulldogs struggled to overcome the lowly Seagulls, wrapping up the match in the last 2 minutes. The Dogs home, 32-20.
Ben Gillies back inside to Halligan. Halligan fumbles, but able to touch over.
And at Suncorp Stadium, the Crushers and the Cowboys were locked at 6-all with 15 minutes remaining before an avalanche of points buried the visitors. 3 quick tries, and the Crushers winners 22-6.
How easy is that?
With Illawarra and Cronulla playing for their points after the news, Manly and Canberra remain on top, and in the scramble for 8th spot, North's ahead on averages. In footy tab,
Warriors romped home, running in 5 tries to 1.
Auckland walked out, knowing a loss could jeopardise their semi-final campaign. And when the Bulldogs hit high, laying on early pressure, the Warriors hit back. 1 minute later, Jones linked with Alexander to turn attack into points.
Oh, beautiful!
In the middle, the big men were locking horns. While out wide, they were flying. Gene Namu replied with a kick and chase. Stephen Carney doing the rest. Then a Phil Blake special put the Warriors 16-4 ahead.
He'll win it! He'll win it!
A Stacey Jones field goal meant the Bulldogs had to score 3 converted tries. When Hoppy went for the intercept, Halligan pulled 1 back.
Yes! More than a chance!
But the resurgence was short-lived. Jones again setting up a 4-pointer.
Here's Poaching!
Minutes later, Poaching became the playmaker, Blake the finisher, as Auckland charged to victory by 29 points to 8. That semi-final dream very much alive. Darren Wick for Nightline.
Their faint finals hopes alive. They beat Newcastle. In other matches, the Reds won by 2. Norths pretty easily against Wests in the end, but most interest was in that game at the Sydney Football Stadium.
Thank you.
It was a game the Roosters had to win. A loss would put them out of semi-final contention, and early on it was obvious they meant business.
Yes. Lightweight doing battle, Lowry and Davies, and Lowry is certainly on top.
With the fireworks out of the way, the Knights slipped out to an early lead after Adam Muir strolled through some ordinary defence. Matthew John's conversion making it 8-0 to the Knights.
Struck it beautifully.
But Roosters halfback Adrian Lamb again showed why he's the most improved player this year, setting up their first try.
Peter Clark will score it right behind the black dot.
After the break, Peter Jorgensen scored to give the Roosters the lead for the first time in the game.
Onside, it bounces loose. The try is presented to Jorgensen. He improves the position. A mighty effort from the Roosters.
The Sealer coming 10 minutes from full time. Andrew Walker weaving a little bit of magic before setting up winger Jason Hudson.
Himself, Walker. Well, 4 will be better than a field goal. Walker gets the pass away and Hudson scores.
The win keeps the Roosters' finals hopes alive, while the Knights are now in danger of missing out on the top 4. Earlier today, North Sydney buried any hope Wests had of making the finals with an impressive 32-16 win.
Fires it out to Wilson in space. Kicks for the corner. David Hall on the race. Back they go. Tony Waller. David Hall's got there.
4 tries in the first half gave the Bears a 20-0 lead at half-time. The match looked to be over.
He skips out of the tackle.
But Wests fought back and at one stage got to within 4 points.
Catch it. Or will they? Nigel Roy coming at him.
Before the Bears responded with 2 late tries, sealing the win.
Fairley with a wraparound. Fairley's off himself. Fairley's over this time. David Fairley with what will be the match winner.
World champions.
Short of a spot in the playoffs, Manly's chase for the minor premiership was on course early against the Panthers. Manly then made it 12-0, centre John Hopewate creating Craig Hancock's 10th try of the season.
Puts on the fend, then the high step, and then puts it down.
Penrith took advantage with Cliff Lyons in the sin bin to open their account.
Thompson gets it over the line.
When Panthers half Gary Freeman took an intercept, Manly's minor premiership hopes were fading.
Freeman scores for Penrith.
3 minutes and 10 sets of hands later, Manly hit back.
He's able to get it away. Menzies gets the try.
The Sea Eagles cruised into the comfort zone when John Hopewate gave them a 24-10 lead at half-time.
John Hopewate scores.
Manly lost Danny Moore, sent off for this high tackle. Steve Menzies hit the top of the try-scoring list with 19 for this solo effort. Manly eventually running out winners 54-26.
The Premiership continues after the news with Manly playing Penrith. In other results, Canberra 56 thumped the Gold Coast 6. The same scoreline for Brisbane over Souths. Cronulla 48 defeated Parramatta 18. Illawarra too strong for the Tigers 32-6. And St George 16 beat the Crushers 6.
St George supposedly has the easiest run of any team struggling to make the playoffs, but when the Crushers' Craig Tevan stretched out, Saints were facing more than just a stroll in the park. The Dragons dropped everything when in scoring range, but Mark Bell made something out of nothing to make it 6-all at half-time. Some Saints fans would rather save money than their team, but some desperate last-ditch passes allowed Nick Zisti to keep the Saints' playoff hopes alive. Gold Coast scored first against Canberra before the Raiders came from on high to rout the Seagulls. Premier's powerhouse performance produced 10 touchdowns, Ricky Stewart putting the ball on a string for Noah Nandruku's third try. The half-century winning margin, Gold Coast's worst result since entering the Winfield Cup. And another cricket score at ANZ Stadium as Brisbane embarked on a 10-try blitz against Souths. Michael Hancock, the first Bronco to bring up a hat-trick.
Putting down for 3.
Darren Smith also scored a trifecta. The Broncos' better for and against record means they pass Newcastle and move into third place on the points table. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
The Sharks have now won 6 on the trot and have finals football written all over them after rolling Parramatta this afternoon.
When Aaron Raper threw the switch, Cronulla lit up and E.T. shone. 5 minutes later, Aaron and Andrew were at it again. For Parramatta, it was just another awful day at work. Ripped to shreds by pace and guile, the Sharks scored 8 tries to 3. At Steelers Stadium, Illawarra centre Paul McGregor led the charge against the Tigers with a hat-trick of tries in the 32-6 win. But just before full time, a sideline brawl. The Steelers mascot sent off for getting involved. The Roosters are talking top 8 after a wonderful night out against the faltering Newcastle. Just as slick as Adrian Lamb, his partner in crime, Andrew Walker. The Roosters scoring a 26-12 victory. And 20,000 packed Stockland Stadium, but the Cowboys couldn't give the faithful a win. The Western Reds home 12-10.
For the Western Reds.
Our ladder has Canberra on top, with Manly and Penrith playing for their points after the news. Brisbane is now ahead of Newcastle on averages, with Cronulla chasing a top 4 berth. North heads a 3-way battle for 8th spot. Footy Tab picked the winners.
Warriors' hopes of making the semi-finals in their debut season. The Raiders winning tonight's match 15 points to 8. Referee Kelvin Jeffs awarded Laurie Daly a try after he dropped the ball. The Raiders then took control and it was all over for Auckland in their final home game.
For what used to be firm rugby territory, more than 30,000 league converts at Auckland's final home game confirmed the Warriors' first season had more than met the fans' and officials' expectations. The players were by no means content with past achievements, though, defending champions Canberra representing simply a step to the playoffs.
Dean Bell throws a face ball over for Hoppy. Oh, it's so easy. It is easy.
The drums in the crowd stirred the Warriors' tribal instincts. The locals not giving the enemy any territory and enjoying a heap of possession. Even when Canberra had the ball, there was little respite.
And here is a very strong tackle that's led to a knock-on.
Oh, yeah, I think it's Dennis Betts. He crunched him.
Nearly 20 minutes of pressure yielding just an 8-0 lead. Not enough to demoralise Canberra, led by some familiar faces they hit back.
Stewart goes along the line. Daly turns it in. Clyde gets it up the centre. Daly's there. Daly puts it over the line. Oh, what a combination.
And the response didn't just come on the scoreboard.
Oh, that is a blockbuster of a tackle.
The home side held together for an 8-6 half-time lead. But in the second half, you could have forgiven them for falling apart.
And it's a try. He's reached out and put it over. Daly scores his second.
In fact, he loses it.
A horrible decision from referee Kelvin Jeffs cost 4 points. Bad defence had the same price tag.
Ferner goes for it.
14-8, Auckland still within reach before Ricky Stewart made the difference 7. The Warriors attempted a comeback, but Canberra's defence was typically miserly. The Raiders winning 15-8. After an impressive debut season, the Warriors waving goodbye to the playoffs and skipper Dean Bell, who retires as a player to take up the role as coach of English side Leeds.
Another disastrous night for Newcastle and their hopes of finishing in a cherished top 4 spot for the finals. The Knights, the latest side to go down to the Western Reds at the Wacker. The Reds keeping their slim finals hopes alive, winning 22-8.
4th versus 12th at the Wacker. The injury hit Reds starting underdogs and then forced to match it with Newcastle a man down.
He's got the 10 for kicking it away.
The Knights opened the scoring, the penalty setting the tone for a trialless first half. The Knights then losing Harrigan to the sin bin. Ryan hitting the target 3 times in the first half. Reds up 6 points to 4 at the main interval. The crowd loved it. A standing ovation for the locals, overcoming the odds up against one of the contenders for this year's Winfield Cup.
This crowd are giving them what they deserve.
3 minutes into the second half, the Reds cross for the first try of the game. Rodwater Fleming, a couple of ex-Knights combining. Ryan booted the extra 2, the Reds up 12 points to 4. 10 minutes later, Green over for the second try. The Reds were headed for one of their biggest scouts. 14 minutes out, Newcastle came back, keeping the contest alive. But the Reds struck back. Captain Brad Mackay showed deft touch, setting up Fleming for his second try. The Reds up 22 points to 8. And that was to be the final scoreline. The Reds inarguably their best win of the season. Peter Mulholland thought so. Reds in their last home game keeping alive their slim finals hopes.
Grounds of yesteryear between Manly and West, but a surprisingly tame start suited the Seagulls.
Lions chased by Georgiala, scores a fine Manly try.
The Magpies, though, put on 2 quick tries to grab a narrow lead. But the class of Manly soon came through. Great work from Nick Kosef to find Des Hasler.
He's strong as well as skillful. Hasler's there. Hasler scores.
West defence out wide had no answer to the Seagulls' support play as Manly ran riot.
Great support play. Tremendous backing up.
Manly dominated in every area, the 34-12 romp, taking the minor premiership down to the final round.
Too fast for them. It comes right around to the posts.
And scraped home against the Gold Coast 27-20. St George 50 thumped the Cowboys 14. Illawarra too strong for Penrith 39-22. The Tigers 26 defeated Parramatta 16. The Bulldogs beat the Crushers 25-18 and a 16-all draw between Souths and Norths.
When Chris Caruana crossed for North's opening try, he was the Bears' first half hero. 3 minutes into the second session, he became the villain. A high shot on Michael Francis left North's a player short. Souths making the most of the one-man advantage. Down 10-6, Craig Wilson kept his cool and kicked low for Nigel Roy to tie it up at 10-all before Jason Taylor kicked high, a leaping Ivan Cleary putting the Bears back in front. But a dozen Bears failed to deliver the rabbit punch as David Webber tied it up again at 16-all. Taylor missed 3 shots at field goal and David Hall was brought down just short of breaking the deadlock. Norths must now beat Gold Coast and rely on Brisbane to defeat Auckland to make the top 8. Despite a half-time scoreline of 12-all, the Sydney Bulldogs put their semi-final campaign back on track, downing a spirited South Queensland Crushers, and Gold Coast threatened to upset Brisbane. Scott Wilson finding a new lease of life, scoring 2 tries in as many minutes as the Broncos' defence went missing in action.
Twinkling of an eye, the Seagulls are celebrating.
But the Broncos rediscovered their scoring prowess to sneak home by 7. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
The Cowboys hosted their first Sunday afternoon game in Townsville, but St George ruined the day, whipping up a cricket score.
One thing the Cowboys have proved is that they can attract a crowd. 23,000 turned out on a steamy afternoon for a fire-breathing show from the Dragons. 5/8 Tony Mundine headed the charge with 3 tries as St George lines up its finals campaign. John Simon was the ringmaster in Illawarra's 17-point win over Penrith. The Steelers have now won 6 of their past 7 games, but all at the wrong end of the season. Illawarra home 39-22. It was an afternoon of bumbles and fumbles from both Parramatta and the Tigers. Gary Jack eventually got the scoreboard rolling to set the Tigers on the road to victory. Throw in a fair bit of luck and Balmain broke a 7-match losing streak, while the Eels have now gone 10 straight without a win. Our ladder has Cronulla and the Roosters playing for their points after the news. With one round to go, Manly looks set for the minor premiership, but the real battle remains for the final spot in the 8. The Bears draw with South, putting their finals hopes in jeopardy and reigniting Auckland's chances. Footy tab, the winners paid more than...
It's been a remarkable career for Terry Lamb. The prolific point scorer has tallied over 1,500 points during his career. Having played at the highest level for his state and country and won premierships, he's done it all. Lamb is keen to downplay Sunday's finale at Belmore.
I think I'll just treat it as another game. I think afterwards maybe. I think I might have a few beers and then the tears might come out, but I don't think I'll think about retiring. Sure, it's my last game at Belmore, but it's not the last game of the career. We've got semi-finals to go.
The Bulldogs aren't playing well enough to give him the perfect farewell at the Sydney Football Stadium next month.
As a team, we've got to prove 25%, and if we don't do it, we're not going to make it. As simple as that.
Last night, jobs out with the Bulldogs for the last time at Belmore. After playing 88 first-grade games with Wests, Sunday's outing against North Queensland will be number 237 in blue and white, with more to come in the playoffs.
Beneath the hill that carries his name, the Bulldogs return to Belmore this Sunday to farewell a bloke who'd rather be remembered as Bar.
If I didn't know who it was and didn't know the person, I'd probably take a sight to it and throw a rock at it.
Lamb mocks his Bulldog legend status, but rugby league's longest-serving first grader began his career back in 1980 with Wests. Dubbed the best backup man in the business, Lamb made 8 appearances for his state and 7 for his country. But that one big day in September brings back the best and worst memories.
Hit on Ellery Hanley in '88. Did that help Canterbury win the grand final?
Well, things happen on big games, and Ellery was taken out that game and I was taken out last year. It happens and it's part of football.
With the Bulldogs in the playoffs, the family club plan a perfect farewell for their favourite son.
Whether he goes out in the grand final would be great if we could do that for him, you know, but I don't think that's never going to lessen his memory in my sight.
Last night,
Bulldogs this season will also be the last at Belmore for the one and only Terry Lamb. Season number 16 is about to close the career of a true modern-day great.
A battler blessed with brilliance. From 1980, when he burst on the scene, Lamb has tried to keep it simple. Even the count of record first-grade appearances.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had a couple of weeks off with a broken rib, but it's around 320-odd. I really can't remember. They just creep up on you.
In fact, 323 have crept up, a feat achieved with a personal drive, the inspiration of his closest fans.
We're well off financially, and the only reason I do it is to look after my family in the future.
As for injuries, well, they won't be missed.
Waking up sore's not my type of waking up. I'd rather wake up with a hangover or something like that, you know. You know it's going to go away after a couple of hours.
And it's not even grand finals, tests or awards that remain his greatest memories.
I've had some great players around me, and I'd have to say just the camaraderie-ship after a game in that dressing room when we win big games.
As for his last stretch at Belmore, Lamb sidestepped the hype, the emotion, and as you guessed, kept it simple.
Sure, it's a special occasion, but not till after the game. We've got to win the game first and then go on.
And Cronulla has grabbed an all-important top 4 spot for the finals, and the star for the Sharks, winger Matt Rogers, who scored 4 tries, 2 of them controversial, in the 24-14 victory over the Knights in Newcastle. It was the 8th win in a row for the Sharks, while the Knights now face sudden death footy when the finals start next week.
Having only won 1 of their last 5 games, the Knights were out to add fire to their armour. In the first 5 minutes, their flame appeared well fueled.
Pressure with a capital N from Newcastle.
The Sharks remained solid in their first real run of the ball. Mitch Healy guided them in.
He's given it all right. It's a try for Cronulla.
Rogers' solo effort had Cronulla up 6-0. 10 minutes later, Newcastle's turn.
And there's a try.
The Newcastle enthusiasm short-lived. Matt Rogers in for his second soon after, off a questionably forward pass. Seconds before the bell, Newcastle with the numbers out wide to level at 10-all.
They must score! They do!
New half, same man, Rogers there again. But did he strip O'Davis of the ball?
Ahead by 4, Rogers doubled that. A replay, however, showing he dropped the ball. Cronulla down to 12 men, Ainscoe answered at John's initiative, scoring his 16th try of the season, a new Knights record.
A country mile in front.
But it was Cronulla entering the victory books, Jeff Bell making sure of that.
Off the hands of Herman, and another try off the bomb.
The Sharks grabbing 4th place on the table, that spot betted by 1 should Brisbane lose to Auckland on Sunday. For Newcastle, it's sudden death semi-finals next week.
A good crowded Cogra saw an ill-tempered start with both teams looking more intent on fighting than playing football. The referee didn't put anyone in the sin bin, but must have been tempted.
And it's on once again. Jason Stevens is just wrestling one away.
Wayne Bartram put the Dragons in front with a couple of penalty goals, but the Reds were first over the line.
Lovely pass on. Great work. Striving to get to the line is Fleming. Fleming's over.
10 minutes later, Mark Bell gave the Dragons the upper hand.
Bell down low. He might go all the way, Mark Bell. Gets a great pass away to Zisty. Oh, that's tremendous football by Mark Bell.
St George posted 2 more tries before the break. Goldthorpe scored 1 and Rod Maybon chipped in with the other.
Here they come though. Held back. Dive for the try.
The fire of the first half was still there early in the second term.
Oh, Kai's in. He's after Stevens.
Down 22-6, the Reds started to come back, beginning with Chris Ryan.
Ryan swivels and he is over. Chris Ryan's over.
5 minutes later, Sean Devine made it look easy, and suddenly the Reds were just 4 points adrift.
Oh, Devine's gone over.
But just as quickly, the game was back in St George's keeping.
Probing run from Goldthorpe, not just a probing run, he's cut them to ribbons.
Goldthorpe's third try capped off a superb display, confirming St George's place in the top 8.
Goldthorpe in the corner, Maynard dives, Goldthorpe's there.
Outgoing coach Brian Smith couldn't have hoped for a better ending at Cogra. Final score, Dragons 36, Reds 18.
Okay, Bar, now we're getting very close to your last game at Belmore ever.
Yes.
You're leading the team out onto the paddock. The big sign awaits you, the big blue and white sign with all those supporters have patiently spent the night putting together. You look up and you see the Terry Lamb Hill. What will you think?
I'll think I've got another 80 minutes till I retire.
Well, then you got the semis after that too, mate. But
retire from Belmore, yeah. I just think it's a day that I'll remember, and it's not the end of my career, it's just the start of my future.
And so will end the playing career at Belmore of one of the game's true greats. A terrific little bloke who I've had the privilege to watch for 16 seasons, from a courageous, cheeky teenager at Wests into an equally cheeky veteran with the Bulldogs. So, Bar, on Sunday, how many games will it be?
Roy, that's a hard question. I know it was 306 prior to last year. I don't know. I've had a couple of weeks off with a broken rib, but it's around 320 odd. I really can't remember. It's they just creep up on you.
Well, Bar, it'll be actually your 324th game, a record that will take a hell of a lot of beating. But for those wanting to try, what's the secret?
I don't know, Roy. It might be enjoying myself out there on the field, enjoying myself at training. Maybe the big thing I think maybe is looking after my family in the future. You know, like I said, we're well off financially, and the only reason I do it is to look after my family in the future.
When Terry made his debut with Wests in 1980, his initiation to the big league came in the form of teammates like Dallas Donnelly, and it's no wonder that the big fellow will live in Barr's mind as one of the game's great characters. A new era began when he moved to Canterbury in 1984, where he won a premiership in his first year and became part of the incredible Bulldogs dynasty.
My best player at Canterbury would have to be Turby, because he could just turn a game. Dean Play at the moment is a funny character, but Robbo, every time Robbo ran on this field, didn't matter if it was reserve grade or first grade or third grade, every person in this oval would stand up and yell out Robbo, because he was just an inspiration, and you knew when he was coming on the field, and he lifted the team as well.
Terry is looking forward to retirement, time to spend watching his 3 sons battle it out like he did for Chester Hill. From good old Chezo, he played 4 years with Wests, then 12 seasons with the Bulldogs. Memories which will remain for a lifetime.
Mainly playing with the players around me. You know, I've had Steve Mortimer, Dave Gillespie, Andrew Farrer, Peter Kelly, one of the toughest blokes, Jeff Robinson. I've had some great players around me, and I'd have to say just the camaraderie after a game in that dressing room when we win big games.
But nothing out on the field, no final, no special moment?
Well, embarrassing moment would have to be when I kicked the field goal against Newcastle when we needed 2 points and not 1 point. But maybe it was, I think it was in 86 or 85 when it was a replay of the grand final against Parramatta here, and I think we had about 20,000 people, so, you know, we beat them, and that was a big memory too.
They'll forgive his few indiscretions, those loyal fans on the Terry Lamb family hill. But how will the new generation of Belmore Barrackers farewell their number 6?
I think that after the game, kids are going to throw rocks at it.
The kids may throw stones at Terry's sign, but their fathers will soon pull them into line with stories of tenacity and courage. Stories of a bloke with an unquenchable thirst for tries who guided the Bulldogs to greatness.
I'll still be involved with Canterbury. I'll still have plenty of mates that I've left after the game, and the memories will be stuck in my mind and stay there. That's the main thing.
And final look about them. The fireworks quickly translated to action on the field. Renouf lighting up with his first touch.
Renouf shows the ball on the outside and says good night and scores.
Brisbane capitalised on early Auckland errors to put Saylor on the charge.
Saylor scores.
The player they call the Pearl was in rare form, impossible to contain from anywhere on the paddock.
Great stuff from the Broncos.
The Renouf trifecta of tries inside the first 20 minutes. If the Warriors were hoping half-time would see Renouf satisfied, they were wrong. A classic Brisbane performance, fair warning for other premiership sides. Plenty of emotion.
Last round, and the critical match between Brisbane and Auckland can be seen right after the news. Some lopsided scores in the other games. Canberra thrashing the Crushers 58-4, Manly 32, Souths 4, Illawarra 46, West 6. The Bulldogs demolished the Cowboys 66-4. The Roosters 44, Tigers 6. Penrith beat Parramatta 18-12, and the 14-all draw between Norths and Gold Coast.
1 point behind Auckland going into today's final round. The Bears found themselves 6 behind Gold Coast after Tony Durham put the home team in front. Craig Wilson made it 6-all, but the Seagulls threatened to ruffle a few feathers when Danny Peacock scored under the posts. Down 14-10, North's Josh Stewart tied it up just 3 minutes from full time, Jason Taylor needing the goal to break the deadlock. At Bruce Stadium, a devastating display against the Crushers by defending Premier Canberra. The Raiders ran in 11 tries, everything bouncing perfectly for Ken Nagas to bag 4. South's Jason Keogh went high for Sea Eagle scalps at Brookvale. First Jack Elsgood, then Cliff Lyons. But the Rabbitohs' defence failed to get the lowdown on Steve Menzies. 2 tries today, giving the league's top try scorer 21 for the season. Menzies' main rival, teammate John Hopewate. His tally now stands at 20 as Manly wrapped up the minor premiership. Illawarra showed what might have been against Wests. Paul McGregor quite happy to steal tries from teammates. With both teams out of playoff contention, personal milestones provided some motivation. Rod Wishart scoring 27 points. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
Terry Lamb has farewelled Belmore Sports Ground in style. In his last match on Bulldogs' home territory, Lamb was inspirational in their record 62-point win over the Cowboys.
Belmore has been Lamb's second home for most of his career. Today he was last onto the field, but like he's done so many times, the first to make a mark. 4 minutes later, Lamb was cooking again, handling the ball twice for Halligan's try in the corner. He then gave the final pass to Hetherington for his 4-pointer. Sure, there were plenty of highlights in the afternoon, but a capacity house came to see one man, and he didn't let them down in the 66-4 massacre. Thousands said their farewells. Lamb will hang up his boots after the finals. At the football stadium, the Roosters gave the Tigers a hiding, scoring 8 tries to 1. It was 18-12 at half-time, and the points just kept coming. Junie, one of the stars in a back line that ran rampant. The mascot got plenty of work, but he too was rewarded in the 44 points to 6 wrong. Gary Freeman will call Parramatta home next year. Today, though, the Eels were still the enemy. The Panthers skipped away to a 16-point lead before Para got on the board. The Eels finished strongly, but Penrith hung on for an 18-12 victory. With most teams now finished for the season, Brisbane and Auckland play for their final points after the news. The Warriors must win to knock Norths out of the 8. In footy tab, the dividends have been held over until tomorrow. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Sydney by 20 points to 10 at the Parramatta Stadium.
The first quarter-final in league history. One team hit by injuries, the other poor form. Despite 5 losses in 6 games, though, Newcastle started with a winning look.
He's into space, there's the try!
8-0 ahead, the Knights turned to Andrew Johns, his kick well placed, but his chasers too keen.
Mistake, and there's another try, but he's ruled offside.
A testing night for referee David Manson, his next decision cutting the Bears short.
Gary Larson, here it comes, but it's been called back.
That was it there. I can't go along with that. I don't think that the tackle was impeded.
Finally, success for Norths approaching half-time, choosing to run, not kick on the last tackle.
This time Manson won't be disallowing the try.
8-6 Newcastle, time for another close call.
It's down, now it's been called forward.
Leading 10-6 at the break, Newcastle returned full of running, only to find Manson's whistle full of breath. 3 more tries disallowed in 10 minutes. Jamie Ainscoe's the most controversial.
Did he get it down? Manson consults the end goal and no try.
Let's have a look at this. The defence coming across.
No doubt over the 4th raid, Ainscoe rewarded. Newcastle pouncing on an 8-point lead. Down to 12 men with Brenton Pomeroy's sin bin, Norths refused to buckle. A fresh pair of legs lifting the Bears to new hope. Replacement winger Luke Aranavula.
Will it be handsome? Yes, it will be!
14-10 Newcastle, as close as the Bears could manage. In the final minutes, a photo finish. Tony Butterfield sliding through. The Knights alive for another week.
Referee Manson consults the end goal and gives Butterfield the try.
End goal judge ruling that the first downward pressure is from the front rower.
Bulldogs have ended St George's season in a spiteful 12-8 win in the knockout quarter-final. The Dragons' Gordon Tallis is on report for biting, and with both teams scoring a try, the result was in the balance right to the bell.
With their seasons on the line, it was the sort of game you'd expect. Despite the conditions, both teams attacked at every opportunity, and some of the hits rocked the Blue Mountains.
Oh, Gordon Tallis.
Dean Pay and Gordon Tallis never let up, and it was only a matter of time before the match became a real knockout.
Oh, hey, yeah, there it is. Robert Ralph through the firstie.
For most of the first half, there was only 2 points in it, but Saints struck close to the break to edge ahead 8-2. In what was shaping up as their last game for the year, the Bulldogs never let go, and the leader of the pack was inspirational.
What a good tackle!
Lamb's effort lifted the Doggies, and with 11 minutes remaining, Pay got them back in front.
Dean Pay, he's over!
Saints got another chance when Lamb was sent to the sin bin for fighting, but the Dragons couldn't capitalise. The Bulldogs hung on to play another day, while for St George, the end of the campaign came on a cold, wet Saturday afternoon.
Forlorn look.
And it was one-way traffic in the final of the Commonwealth Bank Cup. Parramatta Marist all over McCarthy Senior, winning 24-0. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
While the Broncos must overcome the Sydney Bulldogs to earn a rematch in a fortnight with the Raiders.
The Broncos got the perfect start in front of a full house at Suncorp Stadium.
Misses, Saylor, Langer, the Brisbane side have the first try of the match.
The Raiders levelled it up 7 minutes before the break.
They've got to try to Steve Waters.
Vicky Stewart put his team in front right on half-time.
But it gets the extra point.
But the Premiers took control of the match after 42 minutes when Laurie Daly put Bradley Clyde into a hole.
Corner, they're not going to get him. Clyde scores for the Raiders.
Turner's freakish conversion made it 13-6 to the Raiders.
Shays the upright, hits the upright and goes over.
When Alan Langer hobbled off with hamstring trouble, the Broncos looked gone. Stewart sealed Brisbane's fate with his second dropped goal to end the scoring at 14-8 to Canberra.
I'm not stupid enough to say that it's not nice to grab the 2 points, but there for about a 20-minute spell there, we just coughed over the ball. We basically almost handed it to them on a platter. Had Alfie been still on the field, it might have been a different story. So
heads down in the second half to beat Cronulla in this afternoon's quarter-final at the Sydney Football Stadium. Manly wore down a gallant Sharks outfit to earn a place in the major semi-final.
Since Cronulla scored an upset win a few weeks ago, Manly has been fired up for revenge, and the payback started within minutes.
And John Hopawate.
The Sharks' greatest weapon in recent weeks has been Mitch Healy's boot, and again it's served them well.
Eddinghausen taken out of it, I thought, by Hasler, but it's a try. It'll be a try.
That was a turning point. The Sharks rewarded after enormous pressure. If Manly's head was drooping, it was in danger of hitting the ground when the Sharks broke free early in the second term to lead 20-8.
He's over!
But it was only time before the brilliance of Manly wore away at the tired Sharks.
Menzies gets 22.
First Menzies, then Hermano runs off an inspirational Cliff Lyons.
Here they go! Manly!
Paul Green was close to Cronulla's best, but one loose pass sealed their fate. Lyons again there to make them pay.
He's got Menzies and Hancock with him. Hancock, he's away. Hancock scores for Manly.
A week off for Manly as the Sharks prepare for Newcastle. Warren Sim, 7 Nightly News.